Today, I have more questions than answers. This is why I've come so far. To find clarity. To find the wisdom left behind by the great Altair. To continue the search for truth. So that all may benefit. My story is one of many thousands. And the world will not suffer if it ends too soon.
From hidden blades to genetic memories, from ancient civilizations to modern conspiracies, the Assassin's Creed universe spans thousands of years of meticulously crafted lore. But how does it all connect? Where did it really begin? And what secrets lie beneath the surface of this epic saga that many players have missed? Today we're diving deep into the complete history of Assassin's Creed, leaving no stone unturned and no mystery unexplored. As we embark on this journey, I wanted to clarify, I'm telling the story in chronological order. Now, I'm not endorsing this is the way the game should be played. I do think the game should be played, especially if you're a new player, in release order. But when telling the full timeline and historical lore of the series, it makes more sense in a chronological order. So that's the way I will be telling it today. A time long before humanity ever walked the earth, 75,000 BCE, an age shrouded in mystery. This is when the Isu ruled the planet, a race of beings so advanced that to early humans, they seemed like gods. But make no mistake, the Isu were no gods, just a highly intelligent and incredibly powerful civilization that existed eons before us. Their origins are lost to time, even to themselves. No one knows exactly when the Isu first appeared on Earth. What we do know is they were not the first species to evolve here, but they were certainly the first to dominate, with their mastery over technology and the natural world that far surpassed anything humanity would achieve for tens of thousands of years. The Isu's empire stretched across the globe, their cities and factions scattered everywhere. For all their brilliance, the Isu weren't perfect. Their civilization was plagued by internal strife, power struggles, and rivalries, imperfections that would eventually lead to their downfall. But what were they most famous for? Humanity. Around 75,145 BCE, the Isu began Project Anthropos, creating Homo sapiens, humans. Initially, they weren't created for free will or creativity. They were created to work and to be slaves. They were designed to survive the harsh conditions of Earth and primarily serve the Isu. Humans were engineered to be controlled, their minds subject to the will of the pieces of Eden, powerful artifacts capable of manipulating their thoughts and actions. But the Isu didn't stop there. They then created Nethandrels, more durable beings meant for exploration and battle. But things didn't go quite as planned. Some humans, who the Isu called hybrids, were born with immunity to the pieces of Eden. These hybrids were free from the Isu's control, and their awareness of their own autonomy grew, and so did their defiance. Two hybrids would spark the chain of events that would change the world forever, none other than Adam and Eve. Two of the first to break free stole the Apple of Eden, an artifact of unimaginable power. This act of rebellion set off a war between the Isu and their human creations. It was a war the Isu were not prepared for. Though the Isu boasted superior technology and strength, they were outnumbered by humans, whose sheer numbers gave them an advantage. The war raged for 10 brutal years, leaving both sides on the brink of destruction. But during this time, a greater threat loomed, one that would make the war seem insignificant by comparison. A solar flare, massive in scale, was barreling toward Earth. This cataclysmic event, known as the Great Catastrophe, would devastate the planet. While the Isu were distracted by the war, some of the most brilliant minds, Minerva, Juno, and Jupiter, the Capitoline Triad, desperately worked to find a solution. They locked themselves in the Grand Temple, an ancient vault buried deep underneath what is now New York City, and began conducting experiments in hidden underground temples across the world. But time was not on their side. Their experiments failed, and when the solar flare finally struck, it was caused with unimaginable destruction. Earth's magnetic field flipped, triggering fires, earthquakes, and a cascade of natural disasters that would alter the planet forever. Both Isu and humans were almost wiped out. Almost. The Great Catastrophe wiped out most of the Isu, leaving fewer than 10,000 survivors. Humans, though battered, survived as well, and together the two races began the slow process of rebuilding. But the Isu could not recover. The environment had changed too much, and their dwindling numbers made it impossible for the species to survive. Within a century, the Isu were nearly extinct. Still, the Isu weren't entirely gone. Their legacy lived on. Minerva, one of the last survivors, left behind cryptic messages and warnings for humanity, hoping that future generations could avoid the same fate. She also created the Eye, a device that allowed the Isu to peer into the future, exploring countless possibilities to prevent future catastrophes. Not all the Isu shared Minerva's vision though. Juno, another member of the Triad, had her own agenda. She saw humans as inferior and sought to maintain control over the world even after her death. Some Isu went even further, transferring their consciousness into digital systems or embedding their DNA into humans, creating sages, humans who carried the memories of the Isu, though these memories often drove them mad. There was also a group of Isu from Scandinavia who would later become known as the Aesir, immortalized as the Norse gods Odin, Thor, Freya, Loki, and the rest. They encoded the memories into human DNA, ensuring that their influence would live on in future generations. This practice wasn't flawless though. Many of the humans who carried the memories struggled to maintain their sanity, burdened by the minds of the ancient. Even though the Isu were gone, their shadow still looms large over the world. The pieces of Eden, those ancient artifacts they crafted, became the focal point of a centuries-old conflict between two human factions, the Assassins and the Templars. The Isu's technology, their legacy, and their mistakes would shape everything that came after. And that's where our story truly begins about the Assassin's Creed. Fast forward over 76,000 years, an eternity in the making, we find ourselves in 1334 BCE, a pivotal moment in history. This is where we meet the Order of the Ancients, a shadowy organization that would eventually evolve into the Templars. But there's a significant difference between the two. While the Templars would come to see the Isus as tools to manipulate, the Order of the Ancients worshipped them as gods. It all began with a vision, a thirst for power that would shape the course of history for millennia. The Order's primary goal was clear: find and wield the ancient technology of the Isu, believing it would grant them unimaginable power and control over the world. Their influence would soon stretch across empires, working in the shadows to manipulate rulers and nations alike. The story begins in Egypt with a pharaoh named Smenkhare, the man who would not only spark the creation of this dangerous group. Smenkhare discovered an Isu vault, a treasure trove of forgotten power and knowledge. To protect this vault and keep it hidden from the world, he connected it to his very own tomb. This act would mark the birth of the Order of the Ancients, setting in motion a series of events that would alter the course of history forever. But Egypt was only the beginning. The Order's influence soon spread beyond the Nile, reaching into Persia during the reign of the Achaemenid Empire. By the 5th century BCE, the Order had grown into a massive force, working behind the scenes to manipulate the rulers of Persia, figures like Darius I and Xerxes I. Their goal? To control these kings and tighten their grip on the world. The Order's reach extended even further, forming uneasy alliances with other secretive groups, most notably the Cult of Cosmos. The Cult, as you may know from Assassin's Creed Odyssey, were the main antagonist in that story, but we'll save that for later. Together, the Order and the Cult worked to elevate Xerxes to power, placing him at the helm of Greece. But here's where things take a dark turn. While the Order thought they were working in harmony with the Cult, they didn't realize the chaos the Cult was stirring in the Peloponnesian War. This war, one of the most destructive in ancient history, was not part of the Order's plan. Not everyone in Persia was willing to bow to the growing power of the Order. A group of Persian elites, men like Amorges, Pactius, and Artabanus, came together to form Protectors of Persia, a resistance movement bent on overthrowing the Order's influence. Their mission was clear: destroy the Order before it could take full control of Persia and the world. In 465 BCE, the conflict reached its boiling point. Artabanus, one of the leaders of the Protectors, carried out an assassination that would forever change the course of history. He killed Zacchaeus I, making it the first time in history a hidden blade was used in an assassination. Yes, it's a bit confusing knowing we associate the hidden blade with the assassination brotherhood. But remember, history doesn't always follow a straight line. After Xerxes' death, the Order's focus shifted to his son, Artaxerxes I. Artabanus, having just struck down Xerxes, feared that the new king would fall under the Order's control soon. But a twist of fate awaited him. Amorgius, once Artabanus' ally, betrayed him and joined the Order, believing they could help Persia flourish. This betrayal forced Artabanus to flee, leaving behind everything he knew to take on a new identity, one that would resonate through history. He would become known as Darius. And thus the stage is set for the next chapter in the war that would span centuries, a battle between two sides vying for ultimate control. The Order of the Ancients was just getting started. The story of Assassin's Creed Odyssey begins in 480 BCE with the legendary king Leonidas leading his 300 Spartans into the famous battle. You've heard the tale before, but in the game, it's brought to life with such intensity you can practically feel the heat of the battle, the narrow pass, the roar of the war, and the Spartans standing definitely against a massive Persian army. Fun fact, the battle you see in the game is almost a mirror image of the iconic scenes from the movie 300. And it's done so well, you can't help but feel the weight of history on your shoulders. Now after this intense, legendary stand, the timeline shifts. It's 431 BCE, 49 years later, the world is at war, and we meet Cassandra, a Spartan mercenary living on the island of Kephallonia. Cassandra was raised by a man named Marcos, a lovable but utterly unreliable figure. Despite his lack of stability, he instills in her the skills to survive, skills that would soon be put to the test. After a troublesome debt with the local crime lord, Cassandra finds herself securing a ship, the Adestria, and teaming up the loyal captain, Barnabia. Together they set sail, not just to escape the chaos, but to find the answers about Cassandra's mysterious path. Their journey leads them to Megaris, where Cassandra uncovers an unsettling truth. Her father is none other than Nicholas, known as the Wolf of Sparta, a ruthless Spartan general, and suddenly, memories of her childhood come flooding back. Years ago, a prophecy from the Oracle of Delphi commended her infant brother, Alexios, to death. But here's where the story takes a sharp turn. If you choose to play as Alexios, it's actually Cassandra who's sacrificed on the cliff. But technically, Cassandra is the canon character, so bear with me. That's the story we follow. Cassandra tried to save her brother, but in a tragic twist, she accidentally caused both Alexios and a Spartan elder to fall from Mount Taygetos. Her family turned on her, and her father, Nicholas, was forced to cast her out. When she finally meets him again, it's an emotional confrontation. Here, Cassandra must decide, does she forgive him for what happened? Or is there no coming back from the past? But Nicholas drops a bombshell. He isn't her biological father. Her true mother, Mirage, holds the key to unlocking Cassandra's real heritage. As Cassandra continues her journey, she uncovers a nefarious organization, the Cult of Cosmos, the same cult that orchestrated so much of the chaos during the Peloponnesian War. While infiltrating a cult meeting, Cassandra uncovers the devastating truth. Alexios is alive, but he's been brainwashed. Now known as Deimos, he's been twisted into the cult's brutal enforcer. Determined to stop him, Cassandra allies with notable historical figures like Herodotus, the famous historian, and Heraclius, Athens' great leader. Together they track down an Isu vault on Andros Island, where Cassandra learns that the spear of Leonidas is connecting to the Isu, the ancient beings who once ruled the world. Everything ties back to them. By using shards from the cult's mysterious pyramid, Cassandra unlocks the spear's hidden power, setting her off on a journey across Greece. She fights for Athens and Sparta, uncovers more about her family's past, and eventually reunites with her mother, Myrene on Naxos. But Myrene has a shocking secret of her own. Cassandra's biological father is none other than Pythagoras, a descendant of the Isu, and he's been guarding the entrance to Atlantis. Yes, the mythical city of Atlantis that we've all heard of. With that revelation, Cassandra travels to the Thera Island, where she finally meets Pythagoras and learns Atlantis' secrets must be sealed away. To do this, she must retrieve powerful artifacts guarded by mythical creatures like the Minotaur, the Cyclops, and the Sphinx. And just like that, we pause Cassandra's journey in the base game of Assassin's Creed Odyssey. But this is just the beginning. The DLC package, Legacy of the First Blade, chronologically takes place in the middle of the game, from 429 to 425 BCE. The story picks up shortly after Cassandra's encounter with her biological father. Now in Macedonia, Cassandra answers a call for help, only to find Spartan soldiers burning villages and capturing civilians. True to form, Cassandra charges in, freeing the prisoners and fighting back with all her might. But the victory is short-lived. Masked Man and Persian soldiers ambush her. Though Cassandra fights them off, the masked man escapes. In the chaos, Natakas, a Persian archer, helps Cassandra, warning her of the Huntsman, a member of the Order of the Ancients, who's after her because she's deemed a tainted one. During a tense moment, the masked man reveals himself as Darius, the same Darius who assassinated King Xerxes and disappeared under that name. Now, Cassandra knows the full story, and with no time to lose, she teams up with Darius and Natakas to take down the Order's operation in Macedonia. In a shocking twist, Cassandra and Natakas have a son, Elpidios, who will later become the ancestor of Ao of Alexandria, but more on that in a bit. Life settles down as Cassandra raises her son, but peace never lasts. The Order of the Ancients, led by Amorgus, launches a brutal attack on their settlement. After a fierce battle, Cassandra is forced to fight to protect her family, but the Order's true goal is more devastating. They abduct Elpidius and kill Natakas. Grief-stricken, Cassandra vows to rescue her son and avenge. Her journey leads her to Messenia, where she learns the region is under control by the Order after dismantling their network, freeing slaves, assassinating key members, and sinking a Spartan fleet. Cassandra finally confronts Amorgius. In a brutal final battle, she defeats him, and he reveals where her son is being held. Cassandra reunites with Elpidios, but to keep him safe from the Order's grasp, she entrusts him to Darius, who promises to raise him far away from danger. As a tearful farewell unfolds, Cassandra watches Darius sail away with her son to Egypt. After this, Cassandra hunts down the last of the Order's members, eradicating their influence once and for all. With the cult of the cosmos defeated, Cassandra faces her greatest challenge, her brother, Diomus. The cult twisted him, turning him into a violent enforcer. In a final showdown on Mount Tagiotus, Cassandra must decide, can she redeem Diomus, or will their bond be forever broken? After the confrontation, Cassandra returns to the cult's hideout in Delphi, where she discovers Asphysia, the cult's leader. Asphysia explains that she once wanted to bring peace, but the cult spiraled out of control. In the end, Cassandra must choose Asphysia's fate before destroying the cult's pyramid, only to receive a haunting vision of the future, the coming war between the Assassins and the Templars. With the cult finally defeated, Cassandra completes her father's mission and seals Atlantis. Pythagoras hands her the staff of Hermes Trismegistus, and what happens next is nothing short of mind-blowing immortality. Yes, you heard that right. Cassandra achieves immortality, but the burden of eternal life weighs heavily on her. She keeps her newfound powers a secret and continues her mission to protect the pieces of Eden, preventing them from falling into the wrong hands. As the centuries pass, Cassandra watches her friends and allies, like Barnabas and Icarus, her loyal eagle, grow old and pass away. Immortality comes with a heavy price: loneliness. Cassandra continues to safeguard humanity's secrets, all while remaining a secret witness to the rise and fall of empires and leaders. Her adventure takes her to Egypt, where she visits the great library of Alexandria during this Hellenistic period. There she preserves Herodotus' manuscript, ensuring the preservation of his stories for future generations. We now turn to Assassin's Creed Origins, a pivotal entry in the series. As the name suggests, Origins explores the beginning of the Assassin's Brotherhood. But before we dive into that, let's look at the timeline of this game. The story unfolds during the late Ptolemaic period in Egypt, from 49 to 43 BCE, where we follow Bayek, our protagonist, on his journey of vengeance, transformation, and the creation of a legacy that will change the world. In 49 BCE, Bayek and his young son, Camus, are captured by a group of masked men and brought to a hidden vault in the temple of Amun. The men force Bayek to use a mysterious golden orb to unlock the vault. During their escape, things go terribly wrong. In a heartbreaking twist, Bayek accidentally stabs his son in the heart, killing him. This tragic moment sets Bayek on a path of vengeance, determined to hunt down the men responsible for Camus's death. But here's the twist. Bayek blames himself for what happened. A year later, Bayek begins his hunt, targeting the masked men one by one. His first target, Rajek, also known as the Heroine, meets his end in the Bent Pyramid. A brutal opening cutscene marks this moment, one that will stick with players for its intensity and emotion.
You are the Magi from Siwa. I thought Magi were supposed to protect the Pharaoh. I am Magi to no Pharaoh. You see this? I can read my own name, Nat! We will find you. We will find you in your sleep! Sleep? I never sleep. I just wait in the shadows, and I will kill you all! Everyone who sniffed the air that day in Siwa!
After surviving an ambush in his hometown of Siwa, Bayek takes down another target, Meidunamun, also known as the Abyss, who had been torturing villagers to open the same vault Bayek and Camus had been forced to enter. With two of the masked men gone, Bayek travels to Alexandria to meet his wife, Aya, who had been working on the same mission. Aya reveals she's already taken out two of the members of the Order of the Ancients, the Vulture and the Ram. That makes 4 targets taken down. Aya then gives Bayek a weapon, a hidden blade, which marks the beginning of the assassin's legacy. As they work together, they target Eudorus, who Bayek kills in a bathhouse. During the fight, Bayek loses part of his ring finger, an injury that will later become symbolic of the sacrifices tied to the hidden blade and the Brotherhood. Bayek and Aya soon uncover that these masked men are part of a larger group called the Order of the Ancients. The Order manipulates Egypt's rulers, including King Ptolemy, to control the nation. Cleopatra, who has been ousted by the throne by her brother, recruits Bayek and Aya to help her reclaim power. She gives them names of 4 more members of the Order: the Scarab, the Hyena, the Lizard, and the Crocodile. Bayek hunts them down one by one. First, the Scarab, Tahakar, who initially poses as an ally, but ultimately poisons Bayek and leaves him to die in the desert. Bayek survives, kills him, and then realizes the extent of the Order's influence. Then, the hyena, Kal has set, a grieving mother, using ISO technology to attempt to bring her daughter back to life. Bayek feels sympathy for her loss, but he knows he must stop her, so he kills her. Next up is the lizard, Hetepia, a priest who spreads a curse in Memphis, turning the people against Cleopatra. Bayek uncovers his plot and eliminates him. Finally, the crocodile. Behranik is responsible for the death of a young girl named Sadia. This quest is one of the most heart-wrenching in the entire franchise, and it's arguably the saddest moment in Bayek's journey. After uncovering Behranik's identity, Bayek avenges Sadia's death. As Bayek and Aya continue their fight, they discover the Order's influence extends beyond Egypt. Two more members, the Scorpion and the Jackal, are part of Ptolemy's royal guard. Bayek confronts the Jackal, Septimius, stopping him from killing Cleopatra's ally, Julius Caesar. But Bayek can't save Pompey the Great. Cleopatra and Caesar join forces, defeat Ptolemy, and seize control of Egypt. However, once Cleopatra takes power, she betrays Bayek and Aya, severing their ties. Bayek and Aya realize Cleopatra and Caesar are now under their Order's control, and their fight is far from over. The leader of the Order is revealed to be Flavius Metellus, also known as the Lion. Alongside him, Septimus uses the golden orb and Alexander the Great's Staff of Eden to open the vault and seaweed. Inside, they find a map revealing the locations of more pieces of Eden. Flavius uses the Apple of Eden to control people in Cyrene. Bayek tracks him down, kills him, finally avenging Camus' death many targets later. After these events, Aya heads to Rome, joining forces with Brutus and Cassius to fight the Order's influence there. She and Bayek come to a heartbreaking revelation. Their mission is much larger than their personal relationship. The two part ways but vow to continue their fight for freedom in the shadows. Together they lay the foundation for the Hidden Ones, the precursor to the Assassin Brotherhood. In a symbolic moment, Bayek lets go of the last tie to his past, his eagle skull charm, leaving an imprint in the sand, which becomes the emblem of their new brotherhood. However, their work isn't done yet. This foundation is explored more in the next DLC, The Hidden Ones. 4 years after founding the Hidden Ones, as shown in the base game, Bayek receives a letter from Tahia, a member of the Hidden Ones in Sinai, informing him that 2 comrades have been killed and the region is in chaos. When Bayek arrives, he meets Tahia and Gahmalat, the leader of the local rebels. Together they plan to weaken the Romans by targeting General Rufio and his lieutenants. They succeed in eliminating the lieutenants and force Rufio to surface, but the Romans strike back hard, discovering the Hidden Ones' hideout and launching a surprise attack. Bayek, Taria, and their ally, Kashta, are captured and Bayek is crucified. Just when all seems lost, Aya, now going by the name Amunet, arrives from Rome to rescue him. They feed Kashta, but sadly, Taria dies from her injuries. Before her death, Amunet warns Bayek that the Senya branch has been too loud and reckless, attracting Roman attention. She also suspects someone from within the group is stirring trouble. As Bayek and Amunet investigate, they uncover Roman soldiers burning down a village. After stopping the attack and killing Rufio, Amunet reveals the dark truth. Gahmalat has been provoking Roman soldiers to attack villages in order to build an army. Bayek is disgusted by Gahmalat's actions and kills him after a confrontation. After these events, both Bayek and Amunet agree that it's time to establish clear principles for the Hidden Ones. They vow to protect innocents and never exploit them. Unlike Gahmalat, Amunet returns to Rome to continue her fight while Bayek stays in Egypt, committed to strengthening the Brotherhood and upholding their new creed. And with that, we close the chapter on Assassin's Creed's origins in the timeline. But buckle up, because we still have a long journey ahead. We now step into the heart of the Common Era, nearly 900 years after the events of Assassin's Creed Origins. Our next journey brings us to the year 861 CE in the bustling streets of Baghdad, set during the peak of the Islamic Golden Age. The city, rich with culture, knowledge, and power, becomes the backdrop for a story of ambition, secrets, and transformation. Welcome to Assassin's Creed Mirage. The story follows Basim, a character introduced in Assassin's Creed Valhalla, but in Mirage, Ubisoft gives him his own game to explore his journey in more detail. We meet Basim not as the skilled assassin we know from Valhalla, but as a thief struggling to survive in the crowded streets of Anbar, relying on his wits and street smarts. He's haunted, though, by disturbing visions of a jinn, a spirit from Arabic mythology capable of shape-shifting and wielding otherworldly powers. This unsettling connection to the supernatural drives Basim to seek more than a simple life as a thief. He dreams of becoming something far greater. That dream leads him straight to the Hidden Ones, the Brotherhood of Assassins. Now, by the time we meet Basim, the Hidden Ones are well established, with their roots stretching far beyond Egypt, spreading their influence across the world. Basim gets his shot at joining their ranks when he meets Roshan, a skilled Hidden One, but she's not immediately convinced by his ambition. Basim, ever persistent, decides to prove himself. He gets his chance when he breaks into the Caliph's Winter Palace to steal a mysterious artifact the Hidden Ones are after. But things didn't go according to plan. Instead of a simple heist, Basim finds himself caught in the middle of a confrontation with the Order of the Ancients, who threaten the Caliph's life. In the chaos, the Caliph attacks Basim, and his best friend, Nihal, steps in and kills the ruler. They barely escape with the artifact, a memory seal, but the fallout is catastrophic. Basim's network of thieves is targeted, forcing him and Roshan to flee to Amalut, the Hidden One's sanctuary. There, Basim goes rigorous training. Roshan, as his mentor, teaches him the ways of the Brotherhood and the Assassin's Creed. After months of grueling work, Basim earns his place as a Hidden One and is set on his first official mission, to stop the Order of the Ancients from taking over Baghdad. Upon arriving in Baghdad, Basim joins forces with mentor Roshan and a seasoned master assassin named Fulad. A master assassin is the highest rank in the Hidden Ones apart from the mentor, someone who's well versed in the ways of the Brotherhood. Together they set out to dismantle the Order, which has infiltrated nearly every corner of the city, the markets, the House of Wisdom, and even the harbor. They're using ancient Isu technology to push their dark agenda, and Basim is determined to stop them. In the Abbasiyah district, Basim uncovers the Order's plot to build a strange machine, Dalrul. In the House of Wisdom, he takes out key Order members like Hassan and Fazil, disrupting their plans. Then, in the Kark district, Basim dismantles a blockade set up by the Order to search for a powerful artifact. He faces off against ruthless enemies like Javid and Suhail, but with his stealth and combat prowess he triumphs. In Sarkia, Basim teams up with Ali ibn Muhammad and the Jinn Rebellion to fight back against the Order's brutal tactics. The rebellion costs many lives, including Ali's second-in-command. Basim avenges them by taking down one of the Order's most cunning leaders, Wasif al-Turki. Throughout all of this, Basim reconnects with Nihal, his childhood friend who was once a part of his life as a street thief. She questions the motives of the Hidden Ones, even suggesting that the Order of the Ancients might hold the answer to the strange visions that haunt him. But Basim, ever loyal to the Brotherhood, dismisses her concern. Eventually, Basim tracks down the leader of the Order, Kabiha. During their confrontation, Kahiba drops a bombshell. She knows Basim's true identity. She tells him that to understand his fate, he must investigate a hidden Isu temple under Alamut. But before he can even act on this revelation, and kills Kabiha. Yet the truth lingers in Basim's mind. He can't shake the feeling that something is terribly wrong. Against the orders of the Brotherhood, Basim decides to venture into the Isu temple, where he discovers in that hidden vault changes everything. It's a mind-blowing revelation. Basim is not just a regular man. He is the reincarnation of Loki, the Isu trickster god. But it gets even crazier. Nihal, the childhood friend he's been reconnecting with, she is not real. She's a manifestation of Loki's consciousness. And the Jinn Basim has been seeing throughout his journey, they are actually fragments of Loki's traumatic memories resurfacing. Faced with this staggering truth, Basim makes a life-altering choice. He embraces Loki's memories, merging with Nahal and becoming whole. This decision transforms Basim into someone entirely different. While he still remembers the Hidden Ones, his loyalty is no longer unwavering. Roshan, frustrated by Basim's defiance, resigns from the Brotherhood, but Basim is welcomed back by the rest of the Hidden Ones. Now armed with the memories of Loki, Basim begins to rethink his purpose. No longer focused solely on the Creed, he starts searching for others like him, reincarnated Isu, hoping to uncover the truth of his past and what his future holds. And with that, we leave Basim's story at a crossroads, ready for the next chapter in his journey, but as we know in the world of the Assassins, his story is far from over. Around 8 to 12 years after the events of Assassin's Creed Mirage, we step into the saga of Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Think of Mirage as a prequel to this game. Here we step into the boots of Eivor, a Viking raider from Norway. For the sake of canon, Eivor is depicted as female. Eivor's life begins in tragedy. As a child, she witnessed the brutal murder of her parents by Kvalte the Cruel, a rival clan leader. Barely escaping with her life, she's attacked by a wolf, leaving her with a scar and earning her the nickname Wolf-Kissed. Fast forward to adulthood, Eivor has become a fierce warrior, fueled by vengeance and a daring attempt to kill Kvalte. She is captured, but manages to escape, reclaiming her father's axe in the process. Back home, she reunites with her adopted brother, Sigurd, who has just reunited from a voyage, accompanied by two mysterious allies, Basim and Hytham, members of the Hidden Ones. Of course, you remember Basim from the Mirage chapter we just went over. This is where he reappeared. As for Hytham, this is the first time we met him. He is Basim's apprentice. Inspired by the Hidden Ones, Sigurd gifts Eivor a hidden blade. Together, they form an alliance with King Harald to take down Kjotve. In a massive showdown, Eivor finally kills her parents' murderers, but then something strange happens. She has a vision of Odin, hinting that her life is intertwined with something far greater. If you recall, the Isu Era, Odin was one of the Isu who passed on his memories. With Kvalte gone, King Harald announces his plans to unify Norway. Sigurd and Eivor, unwilling to surrender their freedom, decide to leave Norway and start anew in England. Along with their clan, they sail across the sea and found the settlement of Ravensthorpe. But England is far from peaceful. It is a land divided between Saxons, Danes, and other factions, all vying for power. To secure their place, Eivor and Sigurd seek allies through battle and diplomacy, while uncovering the dark influence of the Order of the Ancients. Eivor aids local leaders like Soma in Grantonbridge and Oswald in East Anglia, strengthening the Ravens clan's foothold in the land. Meanwhile, Eivor works closely with Hytham to eliminate key members of the Order of the Ancients, unraveling a vast web of corruption and manipulation. As if that weren't enough, she begins experiencing unsettling visions of Norse gods, like Odin and Loki. That's right, Basim. But at this point, Eivor has no idea. Tensions rise between Eivor and Sigurd. Sigurd becomes convinced he is a god reborn, and his obsession draws attention to Fulke, a fanatical member of the Order of the Ancients. She captures Sigurd, torturing him and fueling his delusions. Eivor, relentless, storms Fulke's fortress to rescue him, but the experience leaves scars, physical and emotional. Sigurd's belief in his divine destiny drives a wedge between them. This journey takes them back to Norway, where they discover an ancient Isu temple hidden in the mountains. Inside, they find a machine that generates a simulation of Valhalla, the paradise of Viking warriors. Sigurd, enchanted, nearly succumbs to the illusion, but Eivor manages to break him through and pull him out. Then, the ultimate betrayal unfolds. Basim reveals his true nature as the reincarnation of Loki, seeking vengeance on Eivor, the reincarnation of Odin, for imprisoning Loki's son in ages past. A fierce battle ensues, and Eivor manages to trap Basim within the Isu machine, leaving him imprisoned for what seems like an eternity. After securing her clan and taking down the Order, Eivor's story continues across various lands. She travels to Ireland, aiding her cousin, Baride and High King Flan Sinna, against a Druid cult called the Children of Danu. Later, in Francia, she participates in the historic Siege of Paris, navigating treacherous political waters and negotiating a bittersweet truce. In 880, after her adventures abroad, Ivor returns to Ravensthorpe, now a thriving community. But her journey isn't over. She travels to the Isles of Skye, where she encounters Cassandra. Yes, Cassandra from Assassin's Creed Odyssey, still alive due to the Staff of Hermes granting her immortality. The two warriors clash before realizing they share a common enemy, an apple of Eden causing nightmares. Together, they break the artifact's curse, forming an unlikely friendship in the process. As the years pass, Ivor realizes her time as Sakona of the Raven clan has come to an end. In 886, she sets sail one last time, seeking to unravel the mysteries of the Isu and confront her connection to Odin. Her final journey takes her to Vinland, where she lives along those people, abandoning violence for a life of reflection. When she eventually passes, her new people lay her to rest in what would later become Concord, Massachusetts, leaving behind a legacy of leadership, discovery, and sacrifice. In the year 1190 CE, during the chaos of the Third Crusade, we step into the shoes of Altair ibn Ahad, the very first assassin we play in the franchise. But things have changed. The Hidden Ones and the Order of the Ancients? Gone. Now the battle lines are drawn between the Assassins and the Templars. Altair's story begins in the assassin stronghold of Alep, under siege by the Templars. He fights them off, but this is only the beginning. Al-Mu'alim, his enigmatic mentor, assigns him a crucial mission: to locate the Shalans, a powerful artifact rumored to unite warring factions and bring an end to the Crusades. His journey takes him across the lands, from the bustling markets of Damascus to the coastal city of Tyre and the sacred streets of Jerusalem. Along the way, he faces ruthless Templar leaders and uncovers secrets long buried in the shadows. In Damascus, Altair takes down Tamir, a corrupt merchant, gaining his first clue. In Tyre, he infiltrates a hospital, retrieving one of 3 keys said to unlock the Temple of Sand, where the chalice supposedly lies hidden. In Jerusalem, he crosses blades with the feared Lord Basilisk, barely escaping with another key. But when Altair finally reaches the Temple of Sand, he discovers the chalice isn't an object at all. It's a woman. Her name? Ada. The story takes a darker turn when Altair uncovers treachery within his own ranks. Harash, a high-ranking assassin, has betrayed the Brotherhood, conspiring with the Templars. Altair confronts him, blade meeting flesh in a swift act of justice. But his mission isn't over. Basilisk kidnaps Adha, and Altair gives chase, leading to a dramatic confrontation aboard the Templar's ship. Steel crashes against steel. Blood stains the deck. Altair strikes down Basilisk, but it's too late. Ada is taken away on another vessel, vanishing into the horizon. As the waves crash against the shore, Altair stands alone, watching the ship disappear. He swears to find her, and so begins his relentless fight against the Templars, forging the path that would shape him into the legend we know today. That is the story of Altair's Chronicles, a game that, while it came out later, it is a game that was a prequel to the very first Assassin's Creed 1. In 1191 CE, the fate of the Brotherhood now rested on the shoulders of a disgraced assassin. Altair began the year with a mission that would define his life. Tasked with retrieving a powerful artifact from Solomon's temple, he was accompanied by his fellow assassins, Malik and Kadar, but pride clouded his judgment. Altair broke the creed, taking innocent lives and confronting Robert de Sablé head-on. The consequences were devastating. Malik lost his arm and his brother barely escaping with the artifact, while Altair fled in disgrace. His failure led the Templars straight to Mosfif, the assassin's fortress, triggering a siege. When the dust settled, Altair stood before Al-Mu'alim, his mentor, who stripped him of his rank, weapons, and honor. To redeem himself, Altair was given a new mission: eliminate 9 key figures fueling the chaos of the Crusades. His hunt began in Damascus, where he fronted Tamir, a ruthless merchant. Now, we don't know for a fact if it's the same merchant, but same city, same name, probably the same guy. In the heart of a bustling marketplace, Altair struck him down. Next was Garnier de Naplouse, who conducted twisted experiments on innocent victims in Hakir. Altair ended his horrors under the stone cold of the hospital. In Jerusalem, he faced Talea, a slaver profiting off the misery of others, before taking down William of Montferrat, a military leader hungry for domination. Then came Abu Nukud, the merchant king of Damascus, whose cruelty reached its peak when he poisoned his own guests. Altair ensured his tyranny ended that night. Maj ad-Din ruled Jerusalem through fear, acting as judge, jury, and executioner. Altair struck him down during a public execution, freeing the city from his iron grip. Al-Hakim, a scholar, sought to erase history by burning every book he could find. Altair stopped the flames, silencing the scholar for good. His eighth target was Seabrand, the paranoid leader of the Knights Teutonic. Fear consumed him as he tried to flee by sea, but Altair caught up with him aboard his ship. One by one, the pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place. But the final target was the most dangerous of them all, Robert de Sablé. Altair tracked him to a funeral in Jerusalem, only to realize too late that it was a trap. The man he confronted wasn't Rabelais, but Maria, a loyal Templar posing as a decoy. She revealed Robert's true location, Arsuf, where he planned to unite Crusaders and Saracens against the assassins. Racing against time, Altair stormed Arsuf, cutting through waves of soldiers until he finally stood face to face with Robert. In a trial by combat, witnessed by none other than King Richard, Altair emerged victorious, ending the Templar Grand Master's reign once and for all. But Robert's dying words shattered everything Altair believed. Al-Mualim, his own mentor, had betrayed the Brotherhood. The Apple of Eden, the artifact they'd recovered, wasn't just a tool of power, it was a weapon of control. Al-Mualim had used it to manipulate the minds of those around him, including Altair. Running back to Massif, Altair found the fortress in chaos. Al-Mualim had turned the assassins into mindless puppets, wielding the apple like a god. In a cinematic battle, Altair confronted his mentor, refusing to let the Brotherhood fall into tyranny. The fight was brutal, but in the end, Altair stood victorious. As Al-Mualim fell, the apple revealed its secrets, projecting a map of the world that showed the locations of other pieces of Eden. The war between the assassins and the Templars was far from over, but Altair had changed. No longer the arrogant assassin who stormed Solomon's temple, he emerged a wiser, more disciplined man. With Al-Mualim gone and Abbas rebellion cooled, Altair rose to the new mentor of the Brotherhood. His work was only beginning. He penned the Codex, a collection of knowledge that detailed not just his life, but the eternal war between assassins and Templars, the mysteries of the pieces of Eden, and the secrets of the Creed itself. Just a month after becoming mentor, Altair's next great challenge unfolded during the events of Assassin's Creed Bloodlines. The remnants of the Templar Order had fled to Cyprus under the command of Armand Bouchard, and Altair led a mission to track them down and dismantle their operations. It wasn't just a hunt, it was a chance to snuff out the last embers of the Templar threat. It was during this journey that Altair crossed paths once again with Maria Thorpe, a former Templar who had once been set against him. What began as a tense relationship, captor and captive, slowly transformed. With each step of their mission, a quiet understanding grew between them. Trust replaced suspicion, and respect began to blossom in the most unlikely of places. Their pursuit of Bouchard led to a final confrontation. Though Altair succeeded in ending Bouchard's reign, the Templars managed to hide away their precious archives, a small victory in the otherwise crushing defeat. Despite this, Altair returned home, not with frustration, but a newfound purpose and companionship. In the aftermath, Maria chose to walk away from the Templar Order, embracing a different path by Altair's side. Their bond deepened, built on shared ideals and a hard-won trust. Eventually they married, forging a union that would shape the Brotherhood's future as much as any hidden blade. But Altair's work was far from over. As mentor, he began to reshape the Assassin Brotherhood expanding its reach and redefining its purpose. The Brotherhood was evolving, and so was Altair. The final journey of Altair takes place over 2 different medias. Assassin's Creed Reflections 2, which is a comic strip, and the Altair Memories from Assassin's Creed Revelations. Altair spent the latter years of his life shaping the future of the Brotherhood. After reclaiming his place as mentor, Altair and Maria had 2 sons, Darim and Seth. He expanded the assassins' influence, establishing new guilds across the world, even attempting to bring the Brotherhood to Constantinople, but political unrest prevented his success. In 1217, Altair, Maria, and Darim embarked on a 10-year mission to Mongolia, determined to stop Genghis Khan. Altair believed the Mongol leader wielded the Peace of Eden to fuel his relentless conquest. Even in his advancing age, Altair played a crucial role in the mission, ensuring its success. Yet this long campaign marked the beginning of a series of personal losses that would haunt him. When Altair returned to Massif in 1228, he found his Brotherhood in ruins. Abbas Sofyan, a man consumed by jealousy and ambition, has seized control through treachery. Abbas had orchestrated the murder of Altair's son, Seth, and blamed their old friend Malik for the crime. Altair was powerless to prevent the tragedy. In a moment of confrontation, Maria was struck down, her life stolen in an instant. Broken and grieving, Altair had no choice but to flee. Exiled and tormented by loss, Altair sought solace in knowledge. He withdrew to Alamut, where he pored over the secrets of the Apple of Eden. During this time, he recorded his discoveries in special memory seals, ensuring his wisdom would not be lost. Years passed. In 1247, a much older Altair returned to Massif. This time, the time had come to reclaim his Brotherhood. With the help of loyal assassins, including Tazim, Malik's son, Altair confronted Abbas one final time. He had no desire for bloodshed. Using a hidden gun he had crafted with the knowledge of the apple, Altair ended Abbas's reign swiftly and decisively. With the Brotherhood back in his hand, Altair dedicated the rest of his life to rebuilding what had been lost. He constructed a grand library beneath Massif, filling it with books and knowledge he'd gathered over a lifetime. Recognizing the dangers of centralizing power, he dispersed the assassins across the globe, ensuring their survival no matter what future threats arose. In 1257, as the Mongols laid siege to Massif, Altair entrusted Niccolo and Maffeo Polo with his codex and 5 of his memory seals. After securing their escape, Altair sealed himself within the library, alone with the apple. At the age of 92, he recorded his final memory on the 6th seal. Then, in the quiet of the library, he took his last breath. Altair's legacy transcended death. His life of sacrifice, wisdom, and unwavering conviction became the foundation upon which the Brotherhood stood for centuries. The man who once let arrogance guide his blade had become the embodiment of the creed itself. Altair was more than a man. He was a symbol, a legend.
Nothing is true. Everything is permitted.
Our next chapter may seem unimportant due to the fact we just went over the story of Altair, and the chapter following this one rivals that story. But chapter 6, like the entirety of the story, has its very important moments. Our journey now takes us into the heart of the Holy Roman Empire, where the flames of betrayal and vengeance ignited one of the darkest chapters in Templar history. The prologue of Assassin's Creed Unity casts us back to October 13th, 1307, a day that would become infamous as the collapse of the Templar Order in France. On that fateful day, King Philip IV unleashed a ruthless purge, arresting Templars across the country. As the iron grip of the monarchy tightened, the assassins that lurked in the shadows ready to strike. At the center of this storm stood Jacques de Molay, Grand Master of the Templars. As his fortress fell under siege, he conferred with his trusted advisor, sensing the assassins' hidden hand behind the attack. His advisor believed the assassins had been eradicated after the fall of Massif, but de Molay knew better. The Brotherhood had merely gone underground, waiting for the right moment to resurface. As chaos engulfed the stronghold, a group of assassins led by Thomas de Carnelian infiltrated the fray, disguised as mercenaries. De Molay, recognizing the gravity of the situation, entrusted his advisor with two sacred artifacts, the Codex and the Sword of Eden. Not to be confused with Altair's Codex, this was a separate relic, but with immense power. The advisor managed to hide the artifacts, but before he could aid his Grand Master, de Carnelian struck him down, ensuring the assassin's victory. The Templar Order crumbled under the weight of these events. By 1312, Pope Clement V officially disbanded the order, transferring its wealth to the Knights Hospitaller. But even as the Templars faded from public power, de Molay's defiance endured. In captivity, he orchestrated a plan for the Order's survival, sending 9 loyal men into hiding, each carrying fragments of knowledge to rebuild the Templar cause in the shadows. On March 18th, 1314, de Molay met his end, burned at the stake in front of a jeering crowd. But with his dying breath, he cast a curse upon King Philip IV and Pope Clement V, vowing that they would face divine judgment before the year's end. True to his words, both men perished. Soon after sealing de Molay's legacy with an air of mystique and fear, though the Templars had been driven underground, their thirst for power endured, and the ancient war with the assassins raged on. Fast forward 162 years, and the Renaissance era dawns, bringing with it the rise of a name that would echo throughout history, Auditore. But before Ezio's legend begins, the tale of his father, Giovanni Auditore, takes center stage in Assassin's Creed Lineage. Giovanni wasn't just a banker. He was a skilled assassin, and his story unfolds against the backdrop of a dark conspiracy. As whispers of Templar schemes stirred through Italy, Giovanni uncovered a dangerous plot orchestrated by none other than Rodrigo Borgia, aimed at destabilizing the region and toppling the powerful Medici dynasty. His pursuit of the truth led him from Florence to Milan, where he desperately tried to prevent the assassination of Duke Galizio Maria Sforza during a public mass. Though Giovanni fought valiantly, he was unable to save the Duke. On one of the assassinations, he found a telling clue: Ventian coins, hinting at a far-reaching conspiracy. Determined to uncover the masterminds, he ventured to Venice, where he intercepted a courier carrying an encrypted letter. The letter unrevealed a shocking connection between the plot and Rodrigo Borgia himself. The trail led him to Rome, where he followed Borgia into the Vatican's shadowy hills. There, he overheard dark whispers of plans to dismantle Lorenzo de Medici's influence and unravel Florence from within. Borgia even attempted to recruit Giovanni into the Templar cause. But Giovanni's loyalty to the Creed was unbreakable. His refusal sparked a deadly ambush, one that Giovanni barely survived. Wounded but resolute, he returned to Florence to warn Lorenzo of the storm brewing in the shadows. Yet, despite his efforts, the Templars always seemed a step ahead. As the conspiracy tightened his grip around Florence and his family, Giovanni stood firm, embodying the Assassin's Creed even when the odds seemed insurmountable. Little did he know, his actions were laying the foundation for a much greater tale. Soon the torch would pass to his son, Ezio, who would rise not only to avenge his family, but to fight for justice in a world shrouded in secrets. Chapter 6 may not seem connected or as important as the rest of the story, but both of these small stories lead to such massive tales later on. One of those tales we enter now. So, our timeline finally reaches the rise of a legend, the saga of Ezio Auditore de Firenze. Following the events of Assassin's Creed Lineage, Ezio's life is torn apart by a devastating betrayal. His father, Giovanni Auditore, is falsely accused of treason by Abruzzo Alberti, a man the Auditore family once trusted, but who secretly serves the Templars. Powerless to stop the tragedy, Ezio is forced to watch as his father and brother are publicly executed. Before his death, Giovanni entrusts Ezio with one final task: to find a hidden room within their home. There, Ezio uncovers a shocking secret: his father's assassin robes and weapons, revealing a hidden legacy that had been concealed for years. With his mother and sister in danger, Ezio flees Florence, seeking refuge at his Uncle Mario's villa in Monterigino. Uncle Mario unreveals the truth about their lineage. The Auditory family has long been a part of the Assassin's Brotherhood. Under Mario's guidance, Ezio begins his training, mastering the arts of combat, stealth, and investigation. Fueled by grief and a burning desire for justice, Ezio dedicates himself to avenging his family and unraveling the conspiracy that led to their downfall. Ezio's quest for vengeance spans over a decade, taking him across Renaissance Italy to San Gimignano, Florence, and Venice. Along the way, he hunts down those responsible for the betrayal and uncovers a far-reaching Templar plot orchestrated by none other than Rodrigo Borgia, the Grand Master of the Italian Templars. But Ezio doesn't walk this path alone. He builds a powerful network of allies, each playing a crucial role in his journey. Among them is the brilliant inventor Leonardo da Vinci, who deciphers pages from Altair's Codex, the same legendary codex written after Altair's confrontation with Al-Muhammad. Hidden within his pages are secrets that revolutionized the assassin's arsenal, allowing Ezio to upgrade his weapons and master new techniques. Ezio's legend grows as he crosses paths with other allies like the cunning Niccolo Machiavelli and the fierce Caterina Sforza. With each step, Ezio evolves, not just as a warrior, but as a leader. In 1488, his pursuit of Rodrigo Borgia leads him to Venice. There he discovers Borgia has obtained a powerful relic, the Apple of Eden. Rodrigo believes the apple holds the key to the vault, a mysterious place said to contain ancient knowledge and more pieces of Eden. Convinced he is the prophet destined to open the vault, Rodrigo becomes obsessed with unlocking its secrets. Ezio confronts Borgia in a fierce battle. At first, Ezio gains the upper hand, but Rodrigo's guards soon overwhelm him. Just when all seems lost, Ezio's allies arrive, turning the tide in his favor. Though Rodrigo manages to escape, he leaves behind the Apple of Eden, a significant victory for the assassins. In the aftermath, Ezio's allies reveal a stunning truth. They too are part of the Assassin's Brotherhood. They believe that Ezio, not Rodrigo, is the true prophet destined to open the vault and lead the assassins into a new era. At that moment, Ezio is officially inducted into the Brotherhood, marking the beginning of his rise as the greatest assassin of his time. The stage is set for the next chapter of his journey, a tale of revenge, destiny, and centuries-old war that shaped the fate of the world. But we pause during Assassin's Creed II because in 1488, the Battle of Forlì, a DLC package, takes place chronologically. In 1488, after securing the Apple of Eden, Ezio and his allies decided it was too dangerous to keep it in plain sight. They entrusted it to Caterina Sforza in Florence, hoping it would remain safe under her watch. But safety was fleeting. The Orsai brothers, mercenaries hired by the Templars, stormed the city, unleashing chaos as they kidnapped Caterina's children and used the distraction to steal the apple. Ezio sprang into action, battling through the streets of Forlì. He fought to rescue the children and confronted Cecco Orsi, killing him in a desperate struggle. But the victory came at a cost. Ezio was wounded and the apple slipped from his grasp once again. In the confusion, a shadowy figure snatched the artifact, a mysterious monk missing a finger. That monk would later be revealed as Guglielmo Savonarola, a man whose fanatical beliefs and ambitions would cast a dark shadow over Florence. With Caterina's help, Ezio recovered from his injuries, but there was little time to rest. The hunt for Savonarola and the apple had just begun. The hunt for the apple and the destiny that awaited him still laid ahead. Girolamo Savonarola, the fanatic monk who had snatched the artifact, now ruled Florence with an iron fist. By 1497, Savonarola's grip on the city was absolute. Using the apple's power, he manipulated the hearts and minds of the people, forcing his radical beliefs upon them and plunging Florence into a dark era of fear and control. Determined to free his home, Ezio joined forces with Niccolo Machiavelli and a network of trusted allies. One by one, they dismantled Savonarola's support system, targeting his most influential followers and weakening his hold over the city. As the people began to rise up, a rebellion ignited, culminating in a Savonarola capture. During the monk's public execution, Ezio chose to show a twisted form of mercy. Rather than letting him burn at the stake, Ezio ended his life swiftly with a hidden blade to the heart. As the flames crackled behind him, Ezio addressed the people of Florence, delivering a heart-filled message. True freedom lies not in blindly following rulers or prophets, but thinking for oneself. With Florence liberated, Ezio returned to Montegrogoni a year later to regroup with his allies and make sense of the mysterious codex pages collected throughout his journey. As they pieced the ancient knowledge together, the pages formed a map of the world and revealed something far more significant. Beneath the Vatican itself lay the entrance to the vault, a place rumored to hold powerful secrets. Their suspicions about Rodrigo Borgia were confirmed. He had risen to the papacy as Pope Alexander VI, not just for power, but to unlock the vault's mysteries. To do so, he needed two artifacts, the Apple of Eden and the papal staff. Ezio prepared for what would be his most dangerous mission yet. Under cover of darkness, he infiltrated the Vatican, slipping past guards and priests to confront Rodrigo one more time. The Pope wielded both artifacts, unleashing their power in a desperate bid to defeat Ezio. The two clashed in a brutal fight. Rodrigo, armed with the apple and the staff, seemed unstoppable, at one point driving a blade into Ezio and leaving him for dead. But thanks to the armor of Altair, Ezio survived. Refusing to be defeated, Ezio pursued Rodrigo deeper into the Vatican and finally reached the vault. There, Rodrigo revealed his true ambition: to use the secrets hidden within to become a god among men. The two fought once more, and though Ezio emerged victorious, he chose to spare Rodrigo's life. Revenge no longer drove him. He had grown beyond that. Inside the vault, Ezio discovered something beyond comprehension. A project of Minerva, one of the ancient Isu who had created humanity, appeared before him. She told a story of a great catastrophe that had wiped out her people, warning that history was poised to repeat itself in the modern world. But what struck Ezio most was that Mirana wasn't speaking to him, she was speaking to someone else, a man named Desmond. Confused and filled with questions, Ezio left the vault with a deeper understanding of his mission and the weight of the Assassin's Creed. His fight wasn't over. In fact, it only had just begun. The story of Assassin's Creed Brotherhood picks up right where Assassin's Creed 2 left off, almost as if it were an extension of the same tale. In fact, the game was initially planned as a DLC before evolving into a full-fledged mainline entry. After emerging from the vault beneath the Vatican, Ezio found Rodrigo Borgia vanished and the Staff of Eden lost. Fortunately, his uncle Mario arrived just in time to help him escape. Together, they fled the city with the Apple of Eden in their possession. Ezio considered destroying the artifact, wary of the power it held, but Mario convinced him to keep it hidden in the safe. Back in Montegrogoni, Ezio longed for peace. He hoped that his days of fighting were behind him, but fate had other plans. In 1500, the Borgia struck back with a vengeance. Rodrigo's son, Serse Borgia, launched a brutal assault on the city. The siege was devastating. Uncle Mario was killed, Catrina Sforza captured, and worst of all, Serse seized the Apple of Eden. Wounded and outnumbered, Ezio had no choice but to flee with the surviving townspeople through a hidden passage. As the city burned behind him, he swore to avenge his uncle and put an end to the Borgia's reign of terror. Ezio's path led him to Rome, a city crumbling under the Borgia's oppressive rule. With the guidance of Niccolo Machiavelli, Ezio turned his grief into purpose, rallying the people and rebuilding the Assassin Brotherhood. He recruited new apprentices, trained them in the ways of the Creed, and slowly dismantled the Borgia's grip on the city, one captain at a time, alongside trusted allies like Bartolomeo, Claudia, and Lavorp. Ezio restored hope to the people while strategically weakening the Borgia's hold. In the shadows, Ezio uncovered a secret cult, the followers of Romulus, whom the Borgia had been using to spread fear and superstition. Delving into their layers, Ezio unearthed ancient scrolls and keys leading to the armor of Brutus, a relic from Rome's dark past. From 1501 to 1503, Ezio's war against the Borgia raged on. He freed Catrina Sforza from imprisonment in Castel Sant'Angelo and meticulously dismantled Xerxes' power base, disrupting the Borgia's finances and military support while strengthening his own forces. Even Claudia, Ezio's sister, proved her mettle by defending the Rosa in Fior, the assassins-controlled brothel, earning her place among the assassins. As Xerxes' empire crumbled, Ezio finally confronted both him and Rodrigo Borgia. In a twisted turn of events, Rodrigo attempted to poison his own son, but Xerxes turned the tables, killing his father instead. Ezio reclaimed the Apple of Eden and used its power to crush what remained of Xerxes' influence in Rome. With Xerxes defeated and captured, Ezio hid the apple beneath the Colosseum, ensuring its secrets would remain protected. Then, without warning, the story leaped several years. By 1506, Ezio discovered that Xerxes had escaped imprisonment in Spain. Determined to finish what he started, Ezio sought out his old friend, Leonardo da Vinci, for help securing passage to Spain. Leonardo agreed, but first asked Ezio to track down his mischievous apprentice, Salai. Ezio found Salai gambling at La Vorpe Addormentata, but before they could return to Leonardo's workshop, the pair was ambushed by a strange group known as the Hermeticists, only to find Leonardo missing in the workshop in ruins. Clues pointed to the Hermeticists kidnapping Leonardo with his knowledge of the fabled temple of Pythagoras. The key to the temple's location lay hidden in 5 of Leonardo's paintings, lost during the siege of Monte Rigidone. Ezio embarked on a new quest to recover the paintings. With each discovery, he unraveled more of the Hermeticist secrets. Eventually, he found Leonardo and the two ventured into the temple of Pythagoras, solving its ancient puzzles. They uncovered mysterious coordinates, numbers that Leonardo dismissed as nonsense. But Ezio knew they pointed to something far greater. Without fully understanding what they had found, they left the temple behind, their focus shifting back to Xerxes. Ezio's hunt culminated in 1507 at the Siege of Vienna, where he finally confronted Xerxes Borgia one last time. The battle was fierce, but Ezio emerged victorious. In the end, he cast Xerxes from the castle walls, ensuring his enemy would never rise again. By the end of his journey, Ezio had transformed. No longer the reckless young man seeking vengeance, he had become a wise and respected leader, a true mentor of the Brotherhood. The Borgia were defeated, Rome was free, and Ezio's legacy as one of the greatest assassins in history was secure. For him, the job was finally done. But his story wasn't. The final chapter of Ezio Auditore's journey unfolds in Assassin's Creed Revelations, bringing his legendary tale to a close. The year is 1511, and Ezio, now older and wiser, travels to Mesef, the ancient stronghold of the Assassins, in search for the fabled library of Altair. Centuries earlier, Altair had sealed himself away in that very place, where he spent his final days. Now, Ezio hoped to uncover the knowledge hidden within, but what he found was far from the sanctuary he imagined. Mesef was in ruins, infested with Byzantine Templars. Ambushed and captured by their leader, Leonardros, Ezio was bound for execution. Yet, as always, Ezio turned the tides. He escaped, reclaimed his weapons, and pursued Leonardros along a treacherous cliffside, ultimately ending the Templar's life. In the aftermath, Ezio discovered Niccolo Polo's journal, which spoke of mysterious artifacts called the Mesef Keys, the very items needed to unlock Altair's library. His search led him to the vibrant city of Constantinople, where tensions simmered between the Ottomans and the remnants of the Byzantine Empire. There, Ezio crossed paths with Yusuf Tazim, leader of the local assassins, who welcomed him and revealed the growing threat of the Templar influence. The city's political landscape was equally volatile, as Sultan Bayezid II's son, Selim and Hamet, vied for power. As Ezio hunted for the keys, he met Sofia Sartor, a passionate bookshop owner and historian. Drawn to her intelligence and warmth, he enlisted her help in tracking down Niccolo Polo's hidden books, each offering clues to the keys' locations. Their bond grew stronger with every discovery. Ezio's time in Constantinople wasn't solely about the Mesef keys. He trained new recruits, fortified the Brotherhood's presence, and unmasked a traitor among their ranks. This betrayal led to the fall of Alisel Tradat, a former assassin who had turned against his brothers. Along the way, Ezio became entangled in Ottoman politics, saving Prince Suleiman from a Templar assassination attempt. Yet, the Templars refused to relent. Their machinations culminated in the kidnapping of Sophia by none other than Prince Ahmet, revealing his allegiance to the Templars. Ezio pursued Ahmet across the countryside in a desperate chase. just as Ezio cornered him, Selim, now the new Sultan, arrived, disposing of his treacherous brother and coldly ordering Ezio to leave the city. With Sophia's safe and the Massif keys in hand, Ezio returned to Massif as he unlocked the ancient doors to Altair's library. He expected to uncover volumes of knowledge. Instead, he found something far more profound. Altair's remains, resting in silent vigor over an empty chamber. The only treasure within was wisdom. Ezio realized that both Altair and he had been driven by the same relentless pursuit of answers. But perhaps some secrets weren't meant to be unraveled. In a moment of quaint reflection, Ezio addressed Desmond Miles, the unseen observer, reliving his memories through the amulets. He urged Desmond to find the answers that had eluded them both. Then, in a final act of faith, Ezio left Altair's Apple of Eden untouched, understanding that true power came from letting go. With his quest complete and the purpose fulfilled, Ezio Auditore stepped away from the life of an assassin. He was ready to embrace the peace he had long been denied. But before his story ends, there is one last tale to tell. The final chapter in the life of Ezio Auditore, set in the year 1524, Assassin's Creed Embers. Ezio Auditore has finally left the assassin life behind. He settled down in the peaceful countryside of Tuscany with his wife Sophia and their children, Marcello and Flavia. His days were quiet, spent tending to his vineyard and savoring the simple pleasures of family life, a stark contrast to the years he spent locked in conflict. One afternoon, while Sophia and Marcello were visiting Ezio's sister Claudia, he stayed behind to watch over Flavia. As he gazed across the vineyard, he noticed a cloaked stranger speaking to his daughter. Alarmed, Ezio rushed over, only to discover the visitor was Xiao Zhen, a young assassin from China. She had traveled a great distance seeking his wisdom to help save her brotherhood back home. But Ezio declined. His days as an assassin were over. His focus now was protecting his family, not waging war. Sophia, ever compassionate, invited Xiao Zhen to stay the night. The next morning, Ezio caught her reading his personal writings. Furious at the intrusion, he ordered her to leave. But Xiao Zhen pleaded with him. She didn't want his weapons or his war, only his knowledge. She longed to learn what it meant to rebuild, to endure. Reluctantly, Ezio agreed, but made it clear that the life of an assassin carried a heavy price. He took her to Florence, retracing the painful moments of his past. The Palazzo della Signoria, where he witnessed his family's execution. Each memory was a lesson in sacrifice. Their training was abruptly interrupted by a deadly ambush. Imperial soldiers sent by the Jiajing Empire had tracked Xiao Zhen across the world. She explained that they were hunting her for defying the Emperor's rule. Ezio and Xiao Zhen fought side by side, cutting down their enemies. But the danger had grown too close to home. Fearing for his family, Ezio sent Sophia and the children to the safety of Machiavelli's home, where he and Xiao Zhen remained behind to face whatever came next. When the soldiers struck again, Ezio and Xiao Zhen fought with everything they had. Ezio even saved her from a cannon blast, proving that even in his later years, he was still a force to be reckoned with. After the dust settled and the last enemy fell, Ezio gave Xiao Zhen a small wooden chest, telling her to only open it when she truly felt lost. She thanked him for everything and departed, carrying with her the lessons of a master assassin. Not long after, Ezio joined Sophia and Flavia on a trip to Florence. As they strolled through the bustling streets, he took a moment to sit on a bench and reflect on his life. A young man briefly sat beside him, offering him quiet words of advice before walking away. Ezio watched his family from afar, a soft smile crossing his face, and then he closed his eyes. At the age of 65, Ezio Auditore passed away peacefully, leaving behind a letter for Sophia, a final farewell to the life defined by love, loss, and purpose. And with that, our journey through Ezio's life comes to an end. What a tale. Rest in peace, Ezio Auditore. Following the events of Assassin's Creed Embers, Xiao Zhuan returns home to China in 1526, carrying the wisdom imparted by Ezio Auditore in Italy, but her homeland is in turmoil. The Eight Tigers, a group of powerful Templars, have taken control threatening to crush the Assassin Brotherhood once and for all. With unwavering determination, Shao Yuan embarks on a mission to dismantle the Eight Tigers and restore the Assassin's order in China. By 1532, her fight reaches its climax. She confronts Zhang Yan, the leader of the Eight Tigers, and uncovers his true ambition, a plan to allow the Mongols to invade China, plunging the land into further chaos. In a decisive battle, Shao Yuan defeats Zhang Yang, ensuring his schemes never come to pass. But victory comes at a cost. The precursor box, the ancient artifact given to her by Ezio, is gone. Though the loss stings, Shao Yuan makes a pivotal choice. She will not chase after the artifact. Instead, she dedicates herself to rebuilding the Brotherhood, ensuring the assassins will rise again. Years later, now the mentor of the Chinese assassins, Shao Yuan secures her legacy on one final bold act. She orchestrates the assassination of the Zhejiang Emperor, striking a deadly blow against Templar influence in China. Her journey, once guided by vengeance, becomes a testament to resilience, leadership, and enduring spirit of the Assassin Brotherhood. Now, before I go over the events of Assassin's Creed, I'm going to give my only spoiler warning in this video, because obviously there are spoilers for every game. But if you're watching this video as someone who hasn't played Shadows yet, and you don't want to be spoiled for it, skip to the next chapter. If you've already played Shadows and you want to see where this falls in line, here's where the story goes. The game itself begins in 1581, but we start 2 years earlier. This game has a lot of flashbacks, and since I'm going in chronological order, I want to keep it that way. In 1579, we meet Naoe, a young warrior of Iga, sparring with her father Nagato, in the heart of their hidden village. While out completing chores for her aunt, she encounters poachers who deliver grim news. A war is brewing. The infamous Lord Oda Nobunaga has set his sights on Iga, determined to unite Japan under his rule. But his first attempt is a failure. When he sends his son to conquer the region, the Iga warriors, fighting from the shadows, turn back the invasion. 2 years later, in 1581, Nobunaga returns, this time with an unstoppable army. Before the fires of war consume Iga, we are introduced to Diogo, a former Portuguese slave aboard a ship bound for foreign shores. When the crew is under attack by an assassin, chaos erupts, and Diogo seizes his chance, leaping overboard into the unknown. After drifting at sea, he is rescued by missionaries, who take him under their wing. Their journey leads them to Japan, where they seek permission from Lord Nobunaga to spread their faith. Nobunaga agrees, but under one condition: Diogo must serve him as a warrior. Thus, the slave is reborn as Yasuke the samurai, who marches alongside Nobunaga's forces, unknowingly walking the path of destiny. As the invasion of Iga begins, Yasuke crosses blade with the elite warrior Momichi, an Iga master. Their battle is fierce, but Yasuke ultimately delivers the killing blow. In Momochi's dying moments, Yasuke notices something unusual: a hidden blade strapped to the warrior's wrist, the very same kind worn by the assassin who once saved him. A mystery begins to unravel. Meanwhile, Naoe's father entrusts her with a mission. He hands her a hidden blade and tells her to go to a tomb in the mountains, where she will find a small, mysterious box. She arrives to the tomb, but before she can secure the box, she is ambushed by a samurai who steals it away. After spending time recovering, she's determined to get it back. She infiltrates the enemy castle and steals it back, only to be met with an even deadlier threat: a group of masked samurai. As she fights for her life, her father arrives. Even in his wounded state, he is able to hold them off. He even severs the ear of one, marking him for vengeance. But the battle takes its toll. Nagato is struck down. After weeks of recovery, Naoe swears vengeance. She hunts down 2 of the masked samurai and eliminates them, each step bringing her closer to the truth. A defected general reveals a shocking claim. Nobunaga himself commands the masked warriors. Fueled by rage, Naoe infiltrates Nobunaga's stronghold and defeats him in battle. Just as she is about to deliver the final blow, Yasuke intervenes. She demands to know where the box is, but Nobunaga is generally confused. He has no idea what she's talking about. Then betrayal strikes again. The defected general, Akichi Mitsuhide, was lying all along. He is no turncoat, he is one of them. As chaos erupts, knowing that his life is coming to an end, Nobunaga commits seppuku, ending his own life. In the aftermath, Naoe and Yasuke, once enemies, now walk separate paths. After a tense reunion, Naoe and Yasuke join forces, setting their sights on the Shinbaku Ufu, the secret group of masked samurai. One by one, they hunt and kill 10 of its 12 members, leading to the final confrontation with Mitsuhide and his mysterious leader. The battle rages within a fortified castle, ending with Mitsuhide's death. As he takes his final breaths, he whispers the name of the true mastermind, Ashikage Yoshiaki. The duo had actually met him before, but never suspected it. And if you actually pay very close attention to their conversation, he does give some subtle hints that he is the mysterious mastermind. Realizing he is outmatched, Yoshiaki surrenders, offering information in exchange for his life. Through their investigation, Yasuke uncovers a deeper conspiracy. The Templar Order had infiltrated Japan. The trail leads to Duarte de Mello and Yuno Karo, the two main leaders who once enslaved Yasuke and his mother, both powerful Templars. Seeking answers, Yasuke turns to Luis Frios, one of the priests who originally took him in. Frios doesn't know much, but he does offer a tantalizing piece of history. He has heard whispers of the Templars before, back in Italy, in connection with the Pope and the infamous House of Borgia, a callback to Ezio's Era. With new information, Yasuke pursues Kamara Kai, a Templar responsible for training an army in Japan. Their battle is brutal, but Yasuke prevails, severing yet another Templar link. But the search for Yuno Karo proves more difficult. Down the line, there is hope though, but it takes a dangerous gambit, saving the brother of a new ally to finally track him down. In a climatic battle, Yasuke ends Yuno Karo's life, finally claiming his revenge. Meanwhile, Naoe embarks on a journey of her own, seeking answers about her parents and the mysterious box. She's led to a hidden cave within its depths. She discovers ancient writings about the Assassin's Brotherhood, and she finds an assassin's robe that she makes hers. But the past holds darker truths. Naoe learns that her mother is still alive. More shocking still, Hattori Hanzo, a trusted ally that we met earlier in the game, betrayed her parents. Out of jealousy, he revealed the location and the secret of the box to their enemies. Though he regretted it immediately, the damage had been done. Naoe and Hanzo's confrontation is a battle of skill and emotion. She emerges as a victor, but instead of killing him, she chooses mercy. Hanzo, consumed by guilt, vows to help her find her mother. With their battles won but their war far from over, Naoe and Yasuke established the foundations of the Assassin's Brotherhood in Japan. The future is uncertain, but the flame of resistance has been lit. Then, just as the journey seems to end, a letter arrives. Hanzo has found a lead on Naoe's mother, and with that, the game ends on a tantalizing cliffhanger, leaving the door wide open for DLC continuation. Our next chapter was when the golden age of piracy was in full swing, when Edward Kenway's tale begun. A rogue, a pirate, and later an assassin whose legacy would echo throughout generations. Edward's story kicked off after shipwrecked on an island with an assassin, but instead of teaming up, Edward killed the man, stole his robes, and assumed his identity in pure pirate fashion. Hoping to cash in on a reward, in Havana, Edward stumbled upon a dark secret. The Templars were hunting for the Observatory, a first civilization site capable of tracking anyone on the planet with just a drop of their blood. It was a treasure that could give its owner unimaginable power. However, things didn't go as planned. Edward was exposed, betrayed, and tossed into prison. He managed to escape with the help of Adewale, a former slave turned pirate. Together they commandeered a ship and named her the Jackdaw, setting sail on a journey that would make Edward famous across the Caribbean. With Adewale as his quartermaster, Edward built a fearsome reputation, forming bonds with legendary pirates like Blackbeard and Benjamin Hornigold. Along the way, he crossed paths with James Kidd, who later revealed herself to be Mary Read, another pirate who disguised her identity to survive in a man's world. The pirates of Nassau dreamed of creating a free republic, where no king or governor could dictate their lives. For a while, that dream thrived, but greed, betrayal, and the tightening grip of the Royal Navy crushed their utopia. Even as Nassau crumbled, Edward remained obsessed with finding Bartholomew Roberts, a sage with knowledge of the observatory and a key to unlocking it. If you remember, sages are those unique individuals who carry echoes of Isu memories. Roberts was one of them. Edward's quest eventually led him to Toulon, where he encountered the Caribbean Brotherhood of Assassins. At first, Edward couldn't care less about their cause, But the deeper he delved into the Templars' schemes, the more he witnessed the price of greed and power. The turning point came when Mary Reed and Anne Bonny were captured. Edward tried to save them, but Mary died shortly after giving birth in prison, a loss that hit him harder than any battle would. Realizing he couldn't continue down the path of piracy, Edward embraced the Creed. He fought alongside the Assassins, dismantling Templar influence in the region and taking out key figures like Woodus Rogers. The final confrontation came when Edward faced Bartholomew Roberts in the observatory itself. Roberts had betrayed him, knocking him unconscious with a crystal skull, another Isu artifact. But Edward triumphed, killing the sage and sealing the observatory to ensure its power couldn't be misused. The weight of his choices and the loss of his loved ones finally pushed Edward to leave piracy behind. Learning of his wife's death, he handed over the Jackdaw and in his Inaga state to the Assassins, ensuring their fight would live on. In 1722, Edward reunited with his daughter, Jennifer Scott, and returned to England. Determined to start a new life, he would eventually remarry and have a son, Haytham Kenway, a name that would play a crucial role in Assassin's future. Edward wasn't the only one whose path was changed forever. His quartermaster, Adewale, earned his own place in history. After embracing the Assassin Brotherhood, Adewale took the fight for freedom into his own hands. In the Freedom Cry DLC that turned standalone, Adewale's story began with a mission to disrupt Templar activity in the Caribbean, but fate had other plans. A violent storm wrecked his ship, leaving him stranded near Haiti. In Port-au-Prince, he discovered a dark alliance between the Templars and the local elite, using the brutal slave trade to strengthen their hold on the region. There, Adewale met Bastantine Josephi, a brothel owner with a secret mission of her own, aiding the Maroons, a group of escaped slave fighters fighting for their freedom despite his duty to the Brotherhood. Adewale couldn't ignore the horrors unfolding before him. He joined the Maroons, using his assassin skills to strike back at the slavers and free as many as he could. In the process, he hijacked a ship called the Exporto Crede, turning it into a weapon against the slave trade. His action put him on a collision course with Governor Pierre de Fayette, a cruel Templar who planned to use geographical data for military advantage. Adewale sabotaged the operation, but his relentless raids soon caused tension among the Maroons. Bastantine warned him that pushing too hard would only bring harsher punishment on the enslaved people. Adewale refused to back down. One fateful night, he led another attack, only to witness a Templar frigate sink a defensive slave ship to prevent its passengers from escaping. Though he saved a few, most were lost to sea. The tragedy weighed heavily on him, reinforcing his determination to take down de Fayette. When the final battle came, Adewale stormed the governor's mansion and confronted de Fayette. The governor, unrepentant, sneered that the enslaved were incapable of freedom. Adewale delivered justice, not vengeance, ending de Fayette's tyranny with a blade and a message. The oppressed would no longer be silent. Afterward, Adewale bid farewell to Bastantine, promising to leave Port-au-Prince, but his mission had changed. He was no longer fighting for just the assassins. His heart now burned with a new purpose: to fight for those who could not fight for themselves. Freedom Cry was more than just a side story. It was a powerful reminder of the darkness that once gripped the Caribbean, and those who dared to stand against it. With Edward and Adewale's stories told, our journey through the Assassin's Creed timeline moves forward. Next up, the tale of the man who once called Edward father, Haytham Kenway, and the Templar path that awaited them. The next chapter in our journey gets complicated, with events overlapping across multiple stories, but we'll explain it as best we can in as most chronological order as we can. Set in 1752, just 15 years after Adewale's fight for freedom, Shay Patrick Cormac's tale is one of betrayal, heartbreak, and a shift that would ripple through the Assassin-Templar conflict for generations. He began his journey as a young assassin, training under Achilles Davenport, eager to prove himself. But cracks in his faith began to form early. On a mission to Port Minaire, alongside his fellow assassins, Liam O'Brien and De La Vérendrye, they were ambushed by the British Navy. In the chaos, Shay seized control of a British ship, christening it the Morgan, a name that would soon become feared across the North Atlantic. Tensions continued to rise. Shay felt Achilles didn't trust him, and the mission only grew darker. Achilles, soon tasked Shay and Liam with recovering two powerful Isu artifacts. The Precursor Box, the very same one Shou Xuan lost in Chronicles China, and the Voynich manuscript. Their search led them to Lawrence, Washington, a dying Templar. Shay carried out the assassination and retrieved the box. But something about the mission felt wrong. The more Shay witnessed, the more he questioned whether the assassins were truly on the side of justice. Then came Lisbon, the moment that changed everything. Achilles sent Shay to retrieve a piece of Eden hidden beneath the city, but when Shay seized the artifact, it triggered a catastrophic earthquake, leveling Lisbon and killing thousands. The weight of the devastation crushed him. Furious, he confronted Achilles, demanding the assassins stop tampering with forces they didn't understand. But his pleas fell on deaf ears. Branded a traitor, Shay stole the Voynich manuscript and fled, determined to prevent another disaster. His brother's response? A bullet to the back and a long drop into icy waters. Fate had other plans. Shay was rescued by Colonel George Monroe, a Templar with far more compassionate view than Shay had been led to believe. Monroe nursed him back to health and showed him a different side of the Templar Order, one focused on order, stability, and protecting innocent lives. Disillusioned with the assassins, Shay reclaimed the Morrigan and began a new fight, one against the Brotherhood he once served. By 1758, Shay was a full-fledged Templar. Haytham Kenway, Edward's son who we just went over, formally inducted him into the order. Together, they set their sights on dismantling the colonial Brotherhood, one by one. Shay confronted his former allies. The death of Hope Jensen was especially haunting. As she lay dead, she accused him of betraying his potential. Her words lingered, a ghost he could never quite outrun. The climax came in the frozen Arctic. Achilles and Liam sought after another Isu temple, hoping to harness its power. Shay and Haytham pursued them, desperate to stop another disaster. When an earthquake tore through the ice, Shay found himself locked in a brutal fight with Liam, his former best friend. Liam's final words accused Shay of turning his back on everything they stood for, but Shay stood firm. To him, this wasn't betrayal, it was salvation. When the dust settled, Achilles lay at their mercy. Haytham moved to strike the killing blow, but Shay intervened. Achilles wasn't a threat anymore, he reasoned. Death wasn't necessary. Instead, Haytham crippled Achilles, ensuring he would never fight again. Shay's loyalty to the Templars was sealed, but his story didn't end in the Americas. By 1776, Shay had traveled to France. Still hunting the Precursor Box. In the Palace of Versailles, he infiltrated a secret assassin meeting and assassinated Charles Dorian, the father of future assassin Arnaud Dorian. As Charles lay dying, he warned Shay that the American Revolution had undone the Templars' plans. But Shay was unshaken. The Templars, he believed, would adapt. They always did. And so ended Shay's journey, not as a villain, but as a man who believed he was saving the world. Whether he was right, well, that's a matter of perspective. The story of Assassin's Creed 3 kicks off with a familiar face, Haytham Kenway. This time, we meet him shortly after the events of the previous game. In a daring move, Haytham assassinates a man named Miko during a play at the London Theatre Royal and steals a medallion linked to the first civilization. This medallion is said to unlock a mysterious storehouse of unimaginable power. With the artifact in hand, Haytham sets sail for the American colonies aboard the Providence. During the voyage, he handles a mutiny with brutal efficiency, showcasing his cold, calculated skill. Once in Boston, he begins assembling a crew of trusted allies, including Charles Lee, William Johnson, Thomas Hickey, Benjamin Church, and Jonathan Pitcairn. Together, they carry out various missions, even freeing Kenyan Kayaka tribespeople along the way. One of these tribespeople is a woman named Ezio, who reluctantly agrees to help Haytham after he promises to kill General Edward Braddock, a man who had long tormented her people. As their partnership deepens, so does their relationship. After Braddock's death, Haytham and Ezio discover the Grand Temple, an ancient structure that will play a crucial role later on. But there's a twist. The medallion doesn't work. And if that wasn't enough, it turns out Haytham isn't an assassin at all. He's a Templar. Fast forward a few years, we meet Radu Hagedun, the son of Haytham and Ezio. Life is anything but easy for him. As a child, he witnesses Charles Lee, Haytham's Templar ally, visit his village. Soon after, tragedy strikes. His home is burned to the ground, and his mother perishes in flames. This event sparks a deep hatred in Ra'adun Hagedun for Charles Lee, driving him to seek justice. Years later, a village elder shows him a crystal sphere that connects him to Juna, the ancient Isu who once tried to take over the world. She warns him of an impending danger and guides him to seek out Achilles Davenport, a retired assassin. At first, Achilles is reluctant to help, but Ra'adun Hagedun's determination wins him over. Under Achilles' mentorship, he adopts the name Connor to blend into colonial society and begin his training as an assassin. Connor's journey takes him deep into the Revolutionary War. His first major targets are William Johnson, who attempts to buy his people's land, and John Pitcairn, who commands British forces at Bunker Hill. One by one, Connor eliminates them, striking blows against the Templar Order. The stakes rise when Connor uncovers a plot by Thomas Hickory to assassinate George Washington. In a cruel twist of fate, Connor is framed for the plot and imprisoned. In a daring escape, he not only saves himself, but stops Hickey just in time to protect Washington. Connor's mission soon brings him face to face with his father, Haytham. The two forge an uneasy alliance to track down Benjamin Church, a traitor to both their factions. Their hunt takes to the Caribbean, where they corner and kill Church. However, their fragile partnership shatters when Connor discovers Washington's plan to remove native tribes, including his own, from their lands. Feeling betrayed by both his father and Washington, Connor returns to protect his village. In a heartbreaking confrontation, he's forced to kill his childhood friend, who has been manipulated by Charles Lee. The tragic loss only strengthens Connor's resolves to dismantle the Templar Order, starting with Haytham and ending with Charles Lee. The climax takes Connor to New York, where he infiltrates Fort George to take down Lee once and for all. But things go sideways when Haytham ambushes him, giving Lee a chance to escape. Father and son clash in a brutal fight, each believing they are on the right side of history. In the end, Connor prevails, killing Haytham in a tragic but necessary moment. Finally, Connor hunts down Charles Lee, chasing him through a burning shipyard to a quiet tavern. In one of the game's most underrated scenes, the two share a drink before Connor silently ends Lee's life, reclaiming the medallion in the process. He buries it at a grave of Achilles' son, ensuring it stays hidden. After the dust settles, Connor returns to his village, only to find his people displaced by the very revolution he fought for. The so-called fight for freedom had come at a steep price, and the hypocrisy weighed heavy on his heart. Delusioned but resolute, Connor burns the Templar portraits in the Davenport Manor, closing the chapter of his fight against the Order. But Connor's story doesn't end there. After the events of Assassin's Creed 3, he dedicates himself to rebuilding the Colonial Brotherhood, recruiting new assassins and continuing the fight for justice. He even finds love, marrying a native woman from a neighboring tribe. They have 3 children, one of whom is a daughter named Yoni Hayode. In 1796, while teaching Yoni Hayode to hunt, a remarkable event unfolds. She bonds with an eagle, using it to warn Connor about an approaching wolf. This moment reveals her extraordinary abilities, prompting Connor to train her in the ways of the assassin. By 1804, Connor remains a guiding force in the Brotherhood. When Haitian assassin Esosa seeks his counsel in preparing for the assassination of a tyrant who rose to power after the Haitian Revolution, Connor answers the call. Even in his later years, Connor Kenway stands tall as a mentor and leader in the fight for freedom. And so the tale of Connor Kenway is not just one of revenge and war, but of legacy, a relentless pursuit of justice that would ripple through history, shaping the fight for freedom long after his time. Up until this point, I have done everything in chronological order as best as possible to give you the full timeline of Assassin's Creed. But this is where I alter that path a little bit. Even though some of Assassin's Creed 3 Liberation overlap with Assassin's Creed 3, telling Eveline de Grenapé's story after Connor's makes it much easier to follow. Her journey is filled with intrigue, betrayal, and liberation. Eveline's tale begins in New Orleans, where she uncovers a sinister alliance between the French governor and the Templar Raphael Joaquin de Fer. After assassinating the corrupt governor, Aveline learns of a rogue assassin named Baptiste, who masquerades as the infamous Francois Macadrol to control smuggling operations in the Bayou. Baptiste's true goal is to draw out Aveline's mentor, Agate, but Aveline isn't so easily deceived. She hunts Baptiste down, ending his twisted scheme and eliminating the false prophet. As she delves deeper into the Templars' plan, Aveline discovers their involvement in the slave trade. Spanish Governor Antonio de Lulo spearheads a covert operation, smuggling enslaved people to a mysterious worksite in Itza. Defying Agata's direct orders, Aveline spares de Lulo's life in exchange for crucial information, earning her mentor's distrust. Determined to put a stop to the horrors unfolding in Itza, Aveline disguises herself as a slave, infiltrating the site and uncovering a first civilization artifact known as the Prophecy Disc. Confronting De Ferro himself, she ends his reign of terror and liberates those he sought to exploit. But the fight is far from over. Tensions rise in the Bayou, and Aveline uncovers another plot orchestrated by a Templar named Vasquez, who uses Spanish soldiers to seize control of the region. Employing clever tactics and voodoo trickery to spook his men, Aveline ultimately eliminates Vasquez. However, she soon realizes he was merely a pawn in a much larger game. Her quest for answers leads her down the frontier, where she crosses paths with Connor. Together they track down Officer Davidson, only to discover that he is George, a man Aveline once helped escape slavery. George reveals the true threat: Madalena de Lazayo, Aveline's own stepmother. Confronting Madalena, Aveline learns that her stepmother has been secretly molding her life, aiming to recruit her into the Templar Order. In a desperate attempt to sever Aveline's ties to her brotherhood, Madalena orders to eliminate Agate. Heartbroken, Aveline confronts her mentor, only to witness him take his own life, believing the Brotherhood's cause to be lost. With a heavy heart, Avelina pretends to embrace the Templar cause, using the deception to strike from within. One by one, she dismantles the Templar network, ultimately facing Madalena in her final confrontation. Aveline strikes her down, reclaiming the prophecy disc and unlocking its secrets. The holographic message that emerges reveals the story of Eve during an Isu-human war, a reminder of the endless cycle of power and rebellion. Aveline's story is one of resilience, sacrifice, and unwavering resolve. Her fight against the Templars isn't just about revenge or power, it's about freeing those who cannot free themselves, and uncovering the truth hidden behind the layers of lies and manipulation. As the French Revolution rages on, we finally return to Assassin's Creed Unity, this time diving past the prologue and into Arnaud Dorian's journey. It begins at the Palace of Versailles, where young Arnaud's life is forever changed. One moment, he's sneaking around, stealing apples with a spirited girl named Elise. The next, he stumbles upon his father Charles' lifeless body, assassinated in the cold blood. Remember when I just told you that Shay killed an assassin during Rogue? This is where his actions ripple into Arnaud's story. Shay was the one who ended Charles Dorian's life. After that tragic day, Arnaud is taken in by Elise's father, Francois de Lassay, and is raised as his own. As they grow older, Arnaud and Elise's bond deepens into a complex mix of love and rivalry. But Arnaud's rebellious nature only sharpens with time. By 1789, he's a charming rogue, gambling and drinking his days away in Versailles. Everything changes when Francois is murdered during a political meeting. Wrongfully blamed for the crime, Arnaud finds himself locked away in the infamous Bastille. There he meets Pierre Belloc, a seasoned assassin who drops a life-altering revelation. Arnaud's father was part of the Assassin's Brotherhood. Belloc trains him behind bars, and when a riot erupts, the two escape. Fueled by a desire for justice, Arnaud plunges into the world of assassins, determined to uncover the truth behind Francois' death and take down the Templars. As Arnaud climbs the Brotherhood's ranks, he uncovers the sinister schemes of Francois Thomas Germain, a Templar sage using the chaos of the Revolution to reshape his order. Along the way, Arnaud crosses paths with Elise, now a full-fledged Templar, bent on avenging her father's death. Their relationship becomes a dance of love and betrayal and uneasy alliances as they work together to stop Germain, despite staying on opposite sides of the Assassin-Templar conflict. Arnaud's dedication wavers as he clashes with the Brotherhood's strict rules. His rogue actions get him expelled, leaving him bitter and lost. He retreats to Versailles, drowning his guilt in alcohol, but Elise pulls him back from the brink, convincing him to return to Paris. Together they dismantle Germain's network, leading to a climatic showdown at the temple in 1794. In the depths of the crypts, Arnaud and Elise confront Germain, who wields the powerful Sword of Eden. The battle is fierce, but tragedy strikes when Elise's relentlessly pursuit of vengeance drives her into a deadly explosion caused by the unstable sword. Arno is left shattered, cradling her lifeless body as he finishes off Germain and retrieves the now depowered artifact. As he carries Elise away from the temple, he reflects on the heavy price of his mission. Germain's vision of the Templar domination is crushed, but at the cost of the person Arno loved most. Arno's story doesn't end there. It picks back up in the Dead King's DLC. After losing Elise, he retreats to Franceinite, modern-day Saint Denis, seeking solace in the bottom of a bottle. On August 3rd, 1794, his brooding is interrupted by Marquis de Sade, who offers him a way out. Retrieve a mysterious manuscript hidden in the royal tomb of Louis IX beneath the Basilique of Saint Denis, and Arno will get a passage out of France to Egypt. With nothing to lose and nothing to do, Arno delves into the eerie underground. But instead of treasure, he stumbles upon crypt raiders led by Captain Philippe Rosé, working under none other than Napoleon Bonaparte. They aren't just after riches, they're hunting an ancient Isu temple rumored to hold a powerful artifact. In the dark tunnels, Arno crosses path with a young thief named Leon, who had been spying on the raiders. After Arno rescues him, Leon gives him a stolen guillotine gun and reveals that Napoleon entrusted the temple key to another lieutenant. Reluctantly, Arno agrees to help Leon stop the Templars from attaining the artifact. Arno's search takes him away from Francade, hunting down 3 ancient patents needed to unlock the temple. Along the way, he uncovers the legendary Eagle of Suzure, a blade linked to Isu technology. With the patents in hand, Arno and Leon finally piece together the temple's entrance. Inside the crypt, they find Rosé, already trying to brute force his way in. Using his wits and the Eagle of Suzure, Arno solves the ancient puzzles and confronts Rose in a fierce battle, ultimately taking him down. There, Arno uncovers the artifact thereafter, the head of Saint Denis, a lamp imbued with Isu power. Returned to the surface, Arno hands over the promised manuscript to Dessard. But when the time comes to leave for Egypt, he has a change of heart. Arno decides to stay in France, bidding an emotional farewell to Leon. Upon closer inspection of the head of Saint Denis, he discovers it holds an apple of Eden. Knowing its danger, Arno ensures it is sent far away to Cairo, safely out of Napoleon's reach. Through this journey, Arno rediscovers his purpose. Leon's bravery and trust rekindle his sense of duty, pulling him back into the shadows as a protector of freedom. Chapter 12 starts with a very small Chronicles game, Assassin's Creed Chronicles India. But while small, I don't want to leave out the story because this is the entire lore and history of the Assassin's Creed games. The year is 1841 and India is in turmoil. The deaths of Maharaja Ranjit Singh and his son Karak Singh have plunged the Sikh Empire into political chaos, creating the perfect storm for the British East India Company and the Templars lurking behind them to tighten their grip. Amongst this unrest, a skilled and daring assassin named Abaj Mir has a mission: protect the legendary Koh-i-Noor, a powerful Isu artifact, and stop the Templars from unlocking its secrets. Abaj's story kicks off with a bold move. In a thrilling display of stealth and cunning, he infiltrates a Templar stronghold and swipes the Koh-i-Noor right under their noses. But the victory is short-lived. As Abaj reunites with his lover, Princess Pira Kaur, the Templars retaliate with a brutal raid, reclaiming the diamond and capturing Abaj's mentor, Hamid. Fueled by vengeance and duty, Abaj sets out to right these wrongs. His pursuit of the Koh-i-Noor leads him to William Sleeman, a high-ranking Templar intent on using a mysterious precursor box to unlock the diamond's true power. Abaj tracks Sleeman to an ancient Isu temple where he navigates deadly traps and engages in high-stakes battles with the Templars. The temple crumbles around him, but Abaj narrowly escapes, determined to chase the artifact to the ends of Earth, if necessary. That chase takes him to Afghanistan, where the Templars seek refuge amidst the chaos of a siege. Abaj infiltrates their camp only to be captured. Ever resourceful, he escapes and faces off against Alexander Burns, Sleeman's ally. Abaj chooses mercy, sparing Burns and reclaiming the Koh-i-Noor once again. But the fight isn't over. Back in India, the Templars seize the Maharaja's summer palace and take Pira hostage. In a daring rescue, Abaj creates a distraction, giving Pira the chance to strike back and free herself. Though the Templars manage to escape with the precursor box, Abaj ensures the Koh-i-Noor remains out of their reach. He entrusts the artifact to a British assassin named Ethan Fry, the father of 2 assassins who will soon make their mark in history, with a vow to one day recover the precursor box and ensure the Templars' plans to crumble into dust. Abba's tale comes to a close. By the time we reach the Victorian era, London is firmly under Templar control. The city's every corner is wrapped in the iron grip of Templar Grandmaster Crawford Sterrick, who's built an entire empire of corruption, crime, and fear. Desperate to turn the tide, Henry Green, the head of London's dwindling Assassin's Brotherhood, calls for help. That's when the Fry twins, Jacob and Evie, answer the call. Their mission begins outside the city. Jacob targets industrialist Rupert Ferris, while Evie takes one scientist, David Brewster, who's been tampering with a piece of Eden. During her infiltration, Evie uncovers an eerie relic, the head of Saint Denis, a chilling callback. Though Brewster is eliminated, the artifact is destroyed in the process. Unshaken, the twins head straight for London, determined to bring down Sterrick themselves. Once in the city, they immediately clash over their approach. Jacob's plan is bold and chaotic: form a gang, the Rooks, to overthrow Sterrick's enforcers, the Bladers. Evie, on the other hand, is laser-focused on finding the Shroud of Eden. Despite their differences, the twins reclaim Whitechapel, convert a train into a mobile headquarters, and forge alliances with historic icons like Alexander Graham Bell, Sergeant Aberline, and Claire O'Day. Jacob wastes no time in dismantling Sterrick's operations. First, with the help of Charles Darwin, he destroys a Templar-run factory producing a narcotic known as soothing syrup, eliminating its creator, John Elliston. Next, he takes on Philip Twopenny, the mastermind behind a plot to rob the Bank of England. But Jacob's impulsive nature gets the better of him when he unknowingly aids Pearl Attaway, only to discover she's Stark's cousin. Furious at being played, he assassinates her too. Things take an even darker turn when Jacob allies with Maxwell Roth, a ruthless crime lord. Roth's reckless methods push Jacobs to the edge, forcing him to cut ties and take Roth out personally. Meanwhile, Evie's investigation leads her to the abandoned mansion of Edward Kenway, where she uncovers clues pointing towards the Shroud. Her search pits her against Lucy Thorne, a cunning Templar obsessed with unlocking the Shroud's secrets. Though Thorne briefly gains the upper hand, stealing the key to the Shroud's vault, Evie tracks her down at the Tower of London, reclaims the key, and ends her mission. Eventually, the twins reunite for one final mission, stopping Stark from seizing the Shroud. Infiltrating a royal ball at Buckingham Palace, they descend into a crypt beneath the palace, where Stark dons the Shroud, becoming nearly invincible. The ensuing battle is intense and chaotic, but with a last-minute assist from Henry Green, Fry twins overpower Sterrick, remove the Shroud, and put an end to his reign. Jacob returns the artifact to its vault, and the rift between him and Evie finally heals. Their heroics even earned them knighthood from Queen Victoria herself. But their story isn't over just yet. 20 years after Sterrick's fall, London is once again gripped by terror. This time, it's not the Templars behind the fear, but a far more elusive and chilling force: Jack the Ripper. When Jacob Fry tries to stop the killer, he's ambushed in a brutal encounter and disappears, presumed dead. Hearing of her brother's fate, Evie Fry returns from India and teams up with Detective Frederick Alberline to hunt the Ripper. What she uncovers is far worse than what she could have imagined. Jack has not only taken over London's East End, but also turned the Rooks, the gang she and Jacob once built, into his personal army. As Evie investigates, she discovers a horrifying truth. Jack isn't just a random murderer, he's a former assassin initiate, one she met years ago in India. Driven mad by the loss of his mother at the hands of the Templars, Jack twisted the Assassin's Creed into something monstrous, using his skills to wage a personal war on the Brotherhood itself. Piece by piece, Evie dismantles Jack's network, freeing his captives and weakening his grip on the city. Her hunt leads her to Lambeth Asylum, where she uncovers the dark details of Jack's past, his time at the asylum, the torment he endured, and the events that drove him to madness. All the while, Jack toys with her, setting traps and leaving gruesome clues behind. The final confrontation is as brutal as it is personal. At the asylum, Evie confronts Jack in a tense, heart-pounding showdown. After a vicious battle, she finally ends his reign of terror and rescues Jacob, who is alive but severely wounded. To protect the Brotherhood's secrecy, Aberline agrees to keep Jack's identity hidden, ensuring the Ripper becomes a legend of fear, not a tale of assassin betrayal. Before we leave the tale of the Fries behind, there's one last to tell. One that takes us into the heart of World War I. The year is 1916 and London is once again under threat, this time from a German spy ring infiltrating the city under the cover of war. Enter Lydia Fry. Lydia is the granddaughter of Jacob and grandniece of Evie. Initially hesitant to embrace her assassin heritage, Lydia can't ignore the growing threat. While her husband, Sam Crowder, joins the army, Lydia stays behind to protect London. Her bravery catches the eye of none other than Winston Churchill, who enlists her to help in dismantling the German spy network. In return, he promises to push for women's voting rights after the war, an offer Lydia can't refuse. Her investigation leads her to Tower Bridge, where she discovers that the spies are part of a larger Templar plot, led by mysterious master spy. Lydia relentlessly hunts down members of the spy ring, gathering intel and closing in on their leader. When she finally confronts the master spy in his heavily guarded stronghold, the truth is more shocking than she ever could have imagined. He's a sage. Again, a reincarnation of an ancient Isu consciousness, adding yet another layer of mystery to the Templars' plans. With the mission complete and London safe once more, Lydia reports back to Churchill, who thanks her for her service. In the end, she stands as a symbol of resilience, carrying on the Frey's family fight long after Jacob and Evie's time has passed. While a short DLC, it wraps up the story of Assassin's Creed Syndicate, a tale of family, betrayal, and the fight for freedom spanning generations, and leaving its mark on history. Chapter 12 ends with our third Chronicles game and second of this chapter. Assassin's Creed Chronicles Russia takes us to Soviet Russia in 1918, a time of revolution, betrayal, and bloodshed. At the heart of this chaos is Nikolai Orlove, a wary assassin who's seen enough death and deception. He dreams of leaving the Brotherhood behind and starting fresh with his family. But fate has one final mission in store for him: retrieve the mysterious precursor box. Nikolai infiltrates the house where Tsar Nicholas II and his family are being held captive. But what he finds isn't salvation, it's slaughter. Templar agents disguised as Red Army soldiers ruthlessly execute the Romanovs. Amid the carnage, Nikolai discovers a lone survivor, Anastasia, the youngest Romanov, clutching the precursor box. Somehow, the artifact has bound itself to her, unlocking memories and combat skills from none other than Shojuan, the legendary assassin from centuries past. Terrified and disoriented, Anastasia is a living conduit of ancient power. Driven by compassion and duty, Nikolai swears to protect her. The unlikely pair flee into the night, evading both the Templars and the Bolsheviks, who are hot on their tail. Their journey takes them to Kazan, a city under siege by the Red Army. Desperate for aid, Nikolai turns to an old acquaintance, Leon Trotsky. But trust is a rare currency in these times. Trotsky, convinced Anastasia's connection to the artifact is too dangerous, betrays Nikolai. Captured and tortured, it seems the end is near, until Anastasia taps into her newfound abilities, staging a daring rescue that sets both of them free. Their escape leads them to Moscow, but even among supposed allies, danger looms. The assassins themselves intervene, claiming they can sever Anastasia's connection to the precursor box. But Nikolai soon uncovers the grim truth. The process could kill her. Refusing to sacrifice a young girl, he turns his blade against his own brotherhood, determined to save her at any cost. In a heart-pounding final confrontation, Nikolai fights his way through the Kremlin, taking down soldiers, war machines, and even a tank in his quest to protect Anastasia. At last, the two make their escape. Knowing she'll never be safe if she stays, Nikolai gives Anastasia a new identity, Anna Anderson. She disappears into Germany to forge a new life, free from the shadows chasing her. As for Nikolai, he walks away from the Brotherhood forever. Tired, broken, but resolute, he finds solace in knowing that he chose compassion over greed. The tale ends not with triumph, but with quiet defiance. A man and a girl who dared to carve their own past in a world that tried to control them. And with the conclusion of Chapter 12, we finally reach the modern day, or kind of the modern day, of the Assassin's Creed story. In 2012, we meet Desmond Miles, a seemingly ordinary guy from New York City found himself at the center of an ancient war, a war he never wanted to be a part of. Desmond Miles and his journey would become the key to saving or dooming the world. Desmond's story began immediately as he was born into the Assassin's Brotherhood, raised in a secluded compound called The Farm. From a young age, he was trained in combat, stealth, and survival, molded into a weapon for a conflict he didn't believe in. His father, William Miles, led the training with a cold, militaristic edge. To Desmond, all the talk of Templars, Pieces of Eden, and secret wars sounded like paranoid conspiracy theories. So on his 16th birthday, he ran away. Using the skills the assassins drilled in him, he vanished into the crowd and built a new life in New York, free from the shadows of his past. Or so he thought. In September 2012, everything unraveled. Abstergo Industries, a front for the modern-day Templars, tracked him down. One fingerprint on his motorcycle license was all it took. They abducted him, dragged him into a high-tech facility in Italy, and strapped him into a machine called the Animus. The Animus wasn't just a machine, it was a window into the past, allowing people to relive the memories of their ancestors through their DNA. And Desmond's bloodline was special. It carried the memories of legendary assassins like Altair ibn Lahad and Ezio Era. Abstergo wanted these memories, believing they held the secrets that could tip the war in their favor. While reliving Altair's life, Desmond began noticing unsettling messages smeared in blood across his cell. They were left by the previous test subject, Subject 16, who had gone mad under Abstergo's control. Desmond was next. But then came Lucy Stillman. Posing as a loyal Abstergo scientist, Lucy was actually an undercover assassin. She helped Desmond escape, fighting their way out of the facility and bringing him to a secret assassin hideout. There, Desmond met Rebecca Crane, the tech genius behind the Assassin's Animus, and Sean Hastings, the group's snarky historian. That's when they told him the truth. A massive solar flare, like the one that wiped out the Isu, was about to strike, and humanity was on the brink of extinction. The only way to stop it was buried somewhere in the memories of his ancestors. To save the world, Desmond had to dive back into the Animus and relive their lives once more. The Animus began to change him. As he spent more time connected to his ancestors, the bleeding effect kicked in. The line between his memories and theirs started to blur. He inherited the skills, free running, combat, and even the eagle vision. But the side effects were brutal. He started seeing hallucinations. Subject 16 appeared to him as a digital ghost, warning him of the dangers ahead. Through Ezio's memories, Desmond discovered the location of a powerful artifact, the Apple of Eden. The team raced to the Colosseum in Rome, where Ezio had hidden it centuries ago. But when Desmond finally touched the apple, something unexpected happened. Juno, one of the ancient Isu, took control of him. Under her influence, Desmond did the unthinkable. He stabbed Lucy, killing her. Juno claimed Lucy had been a Templar all along. Desmond was left shattered. The trauma sent him into a coma, his mind trapped in an Animus's failsafe, the Black Room. There he encountered the consciousness of Subject 16, Clay Kaczmarek, who helped him piece his fractured mind back together. Clay revealed that the only way for Desmond to wake up was to finish reliving his ancestors' lives. Along the way, Desmond began to understand the weight of his heritage and the sacrifices made by those who came before him. When he finally woke up, the assassins had tracked down the Grand Temple in upstate New York, the key to preventing the solar flare. But unlocking its secrets required power sources scattered across the globe. Desmond embarked on a globe-trotting mission, from scaling Manhattan skyscraper, from infiltrating a stadium in Sao Paulo. Along the way, he clashed with Templar agents like Daniel Cross, a brainwashed assassin turned Templar pawn. As he delved deeper into the Animus, Desmond explored the lives of Haytham Kenway and his son, Connor. Through their memories, he uncovered the final piece of Eden, the key to the Grand Temple's central chamber. Inside the temple, Desmond faced an impossible choice. Minerva, one of the Isu who had tried to save humanity in the past, appeared before him. She revealed the price of activating the temple's device. It would stop the solar flare, but in doing so, it would free Juno, a being who sought to enslave mankind. The alternative, let the flare hit, wipe out billions, and give humanity a chance to rebuild without the Isu's influence. Desmond made his choice, believing that humanity could fight back against Juno. He placed his hand on the device. Energy surged through him, consuming his body and ending his life. But his sacrifice saved the world, stopping the solar flare and ensuring the survival of billions. Yet, as the dust settled, Juno was free. The war Desmond fought so hard to escape had only just begun, and his story became a legend. After Desmond's death, the modern-day story took a strange turn. Enter Noob, an unnamed mute protagonist who found himself tangled in a web of secrets, betrayal, and ancient conspiracies. In October of 2013, Noob landed a job at Abstergo Entertainment, a subsidiary of Abstergo Industries. On the surface, it seemed like a dream gig. Their assignment? Dive into the Animus as part of the Sample 17 project to relive the memories of Edward Kenway, a pirate and assassin from the golden age of piracy. The purpose? To gather footage for a project called Devils of the Caribbean. Not long after starting, Noob caught the attention of John Standish, Abstergo's eccentric IT manager. John had other plans for Noob, plans that involved hacking into Abstergo's systems to uncover hidden files. At first, it seemed like innocent snooping, but the truth was far more dangerous. Noob was unknowingly passing intel to none other than Sean Hastings and Rebecca Crane, who were posing as coffee shop employees just outside Abstergo's walls. As Noob dug deeper, the company's polished corporate veneer began to crack. Strange encrypted files, secret projects, and whispers of an ancient war painted a far darker picture of Abstergo's true purpose. Then there was John. The more Noob worked with him, the clearer it became something was off. The truth hit like a dagger in the dark. John Standish wasn't just a quirky IT guy, he was a sage, a reincarnation of Juno's husband, Aita. His goal? To bring Juno back to life and usher a new age under her rule. John manipulated Noob into activating a program designed to resurrect her, but the plan failed, and John's desperation turned to violence. In a heart-pounding confrontation, John tried to poison Noob, intending to use their body as a vessel for Juno's return. Just when it seemed like the end, Abstergo security intervened, killing John before he could finish the job. Noob survived, but was left shaken, realizing just how deep the rabbit hole went. After that, Noob quietly faded into the background. They returned to work, but the experience had changed them. By late 2014, they left Abstergo for good, a ghost in the machine, never to be heard of again. Just when you thought things couldn't get any stranger, we meet another mute protagonist, Numbskull. Their story begins just like any other at Abstergo Entertainment, a routine job driving into the memories of long-dead figures. This time, the subject was Shay Cormac, a man infamous for betraying the assassins and joining the Templars. At first, Numbskull assumed it was just another data retrieval assignment, but suddenly, a mysterious virus swept through Abstergo's systems, throwing the entire facility into disarray. Computers crashed, security alarms blared, and panic spread like wildfire. Amid the chaos, Numbskull's skills became essential. As they scrambled to repair the damage and recover lost data, they uncovered something far more chilling. Shay's memories weren't just history, they were a message. Through Shay's eyes, Numbskull witnessed a story of betrayal and conviction. Shay believed that the assassin's pursuit of freedom led to chaos, and the only way to prevent chaos was to embrace order, the kind of order the Templars promised. It was a message aimed squarely at modern-day assassins, challenging the very ideals they fought for. Once the crisis was contained, Numbskull was summoned to the office of Melanie LeMay. Expecting a pat on the back, they were instead met with a far colder reception. Melanie wasn't alone. Violet DaCosta and Giovanni Otso-Berg, high-ranking Templars, stood at her side. This wasn't a performance review, it was an ultimatum. Join the Templars or disappear. And just like that, the story ended. No grand escape, no daring rescue, no decision. The screens faded to black, leaving Numbskull's fate a mystery, another soul lost in the war between assassins and Templars. For 3 long years after Numbskull's mysterious disappearance, not much happened in the modern day. A few cryptic messages from a woman named Bishop, some scattered Templar schemes, nothing of real consequence. But in 2017, the spotlight shifted to a new modern protagonist, Layla Hassan. Layla wasn't your typical assassin recruit. She was a rebel, a genius, and a bit of a loose cannon. After dropping out of college, she landed the job at Abstergo Industries, dreaming of working on the company's legendary Animus project. But Layla wasn't content with following orders. She developed her own portable version of the Animus, one that could dive into anyone's genetic memories. not just those of direct ancestors. Impressive, absolutely. Reckless, without a doubt. Her insubordination eventually caught up with her. During a mission in Egypt, Layla uncovered a dark truth. Abstergo wasn't just some tech giant, it was a front for the Templars, and when they sent a kill squad to silence her, she fought back. Using combat skills she picked up through the Animus bleeding effect. Alone and hunted, Layla had no choice but to join the assassins. But even then, she wasn't fully committed to their cause. Not yet. In 2018, everything changed. Layla's Animus dives into the life of Cassandra, the mighty Spartan, who led her to the legendary lost city of Atlantis. There Cassandra, who had lived for millennia, thanks to the ancient artifact, entrusted Layla with the Staff of Hermes, a relic that granted its wielder immortality. And just like that, Cassandra's epic journey ended as she peacefully passed away, leaving the burden of the staff to Layla. But power always comes at a cost. The staff began to warp Layla's mind. She grew impulsive and reckless. And during a trial set by the Isu Minerva, tragedy struck. In a fit of rage and confusion, she accidentally killed her closest friend and teammate, Victoria. That was the moment Layla's descent truly began. In 2020, Layla found herself working with two familiar faces, Sean Hastings and Rebecca Crane. Returning after years in the shadows, together they uncovered a strange signal leading them to New England, where the grave of the Viking warrior Eivor lay hidden. Diving into Eivor's memories, Layla discovered the location of an ancient Isu vault that housed the Yggdrasil supercomputer, a machine that could stabilize the Earth's crumbling electromagnetic field. With the staff protecting her from lethal radiation, Layla entered the vault and connected to the supercomputer. There she encountered Basim, a man who survived for centuries, hiding his true nature as the reincarnation of the Isu Loki. Basim pretended to help Layla, only to betray her, stealing the staff and using its powers to escape the vault, finally returning to the modern world. Alone and exposed to deadly radiation, Layla's body succumbed, but her story didn't end there. Her consciousness drifted into a mysterious digital realm known as the Grey. There she met a familiar figure, the Reader, a being who turned out to be none other than the consciousness of Desmond Miles. Yes, that same Desmond. The Reader was trapped in the Grey, endlessly analyzing timelines to prevent future catastrophes. Realizing the gravity of the task, Layla chose to stay, merging her consciousness with the digital expanse to help guide humanity's fate. Before vanishing entirely, she left one final message for Sean and Rebecca. She told them not to search for her. She had found her purpose. Layla's journey was over, from rebel genius to reluctant hero. She gave up her life to safeguard the future, a sacrifice that may yet shape the fate of the world. Remember when I mentioned Basim's fight against Eivor and how he got trapped in the Grey, that eerie digital purgatory? Well, after centuries of waiting, his patience finally paid off in 2020, and that's when things got really interesting. But let's rewind a little bit. Basim's escape is oddly connected to Desmond Miles. When Desmond sacrificed himself in 2012 to stop the second disaster, he activated the protective shield around Earth. Over time, the shield disrupted the planet's magnetic field, causing strain and anomalies. Basim, ever the opportunist, saw his chance. He sent a cryptic message to the assassins, leading them straight to Eivor's grave in New England. That message Layla received? Yep, it was from Basim all along. As Layla fought to save the planet, Basim pulled a classic Loki move. Using her actions as the catalyst, he managed to slip out of the Grey and back into the real world, leaving Layla behind. And the icing on the cake, as Layla's body succumbed to radiation, she dropped the Staff of Hermes, the very artifact that had kept Cassandra alive for centuries. Basim snatched it up, rejuvenating his ancient body and emerging into the modern day, reborn and ready for action. Once free, Basim wasted no time reuniting with Alethea, his lover and partner in crime, who had been chilling inside the staff all this time. With Odin, his old rival, long gone, Basim was free to pursue his own agenda. His next stop? Layla's safe house in New England, where he had a rather tense run-in with Sean Hastings and Rebecca Crane. Let's just say they weren't thrilled about Layla's fate. But Basim, unbothered. He casually requested a meeting with their mentor, William Miles, proposing an alliance against the Templars. While waiting, Basim spent some quality time in the Animalists, diving into Eivor's memories and confronting his connection to Loki. The bleeding effect hit him hard. Visions of Eivor and Odin plagued his mind, but Basim remained calm. He had a mission to find his lost children and reunite his family. When William Miles finally connected for the meeting, Basim played his hand perfectly. He offered the assassins priceless knowledge about the Isu and their technology, but William had one condition. Basim had to give his blood sample, allowing the assassins to explore his genetic memories. Basim agreed with a sly grin, knowing full well he was still the one pulling the strings. And just like that, Basim was back. Whether he's truly an ally or just playing another long con, one thing's certain: Basim is the most unpredictable player in the modern era of Assassin's Creed. His motives remain a mystery for now.
When I was a young man, I had liberty, but I did not see it. I had time, but I did not know it. And I had love, but I did not feel it. Many decades would pass before I understood the meaning of all three. And now, in the twilight of my life, this understanding has passed into contentment. Love, liberty, and time, once so disposable, are the fuels that drive me forward. And love, most especially, mio caro. For you, our children, our brothers and sisters, and for the vast and wonderful world that gave us life and keeps us guessing. Endless affection, mia Sofia. Forever yours, Ezio Auditore. I am still very much alive.